Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's time for Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm the only one who's not on camera, I guess, today. So I'll do this for a little bit anyway, at least. Hello. Good morning. We have with us Culture Casino this morning. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
That's
right. That's right.
What the hell did Paul just say again? Anyway, we also have Paul, as usual, here. How you doing? Our Canadian representation.
Good to be here. I was just referring to Culture's very sonorous timbre.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a little bit of a Southern boy.
I'm all up in my sinuses right now. So.
You all right? Okay.
Yeah.
And joining us once again from BleedingFool, Mr. Chris Braley. How you doing?
Hey guys, good to hear everyone and hear them so well.
And
yes, indeed.
Good to hear and see you.
Yes. I may occasionally duck out, pretty avatar up, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
There we are. Yeah,
I like it.
You look like Lex Luthor there.
Yeah, it does look very Lex Luthor.
It was a little in my younger years. I had a little soul patch down there on the chin. I need to.
Nice.
Back when you were a supervillain.
That's right. Back when. Come on. Still
are.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, we have some stuff to talk about this morning, but it sounds like, Paul, you had some problems with the police this morning. What the hell is that all about?
This morning, we were just talking about funny stories, and so I was talking about how I got out of a traffic ticket. That one time I was tootling along a suburban road, and I got stopped for speeding, and I was guilty, and I felt guilty, and then the cop came up to me and did the roll down the window thing, and I rolled it down, and I'm looking at him, and then he just sort of pops his head in, and he immediately goes, "Hey, what's up?" I went, "Okay, does he recognize me from my Canadian entertainer? Okay, what's going on? Play along with this." And then he said, "So how long are you going to be in town?" And I went, "A couple weeks." And he said, "Whose car is this?" I went, "That's my sister's, and she'll let me drive it." And I don't have a sister. And he said, "Hey, buddy, watch the speed, okay?" And he sort of went, "Okay." I went, "Okay, fine. Hey, nice to hopefully see you again." And he buggered off, and I, roll up the window and I start driving away. And I look in the rearview mirror. My wife's uncle or something was a police officer at the Sudbury Police. With the Sudbury Police, and he had a SWAT hat that he gave everybody in the family. So I was wearing a genuine Sudbury Police SWAT hat.
Oh, so they thought you were a SWAT team member.
Yes, and I was at a conference. I think I said, "Oh, I'm here in a conference," and he said, "Yeah, I think I heard about that," and I just went with it. If I had known that I was wearing the hat, I probably would have frozen, right? But I completely forgot that I was wearing the car.
You should have come up with a much better story had you known.
I should have.
It's like, I can't tell you or I'll have to kill you.
That's right. I'm down here looking for gold thieves is what I'm doing. Anyway, so that was my.
Have you been read in? Have you been read in?
See? The thin blue line.
That's
crossed
nice. That's beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Member of the SWAT team.
Remember.
At least he didn't confuse you with somebody that would have maybe insulted you, like saying Larry David, my favorite, or something like that.
or maybe he goes, "Hey, I know everybody on the Sudbury team, like Jeffrey."
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the skinny guy, tall, skinny, 300 pounds.
How's Jake doing since he got shot?
Yeah.
Wow, not much crime in Sudbury, eh? Anyway. So that was one of those moments where it was really good to know, that you didn't know.
Right. Well, we got some people in the chat here. Let's see what you guys are talking about. We got Hyper Guyver 2 sending in $5. Said it would seem Amazon and Warner Brothers got busted outsourcing their animation to North Korea. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this because we had just this story had just dropped. Yeah, North Korea.
Because South Korea has. Nelvana, everybody has been outsourcing to South Korea
forever.
For decades.
Yeah. No, this is new news coming out of I don't remember who broke the story, but this came out like 2 days ago. I think it first came out.
Wow.
Yeah. Do we have one here?
I mean,
we do.
I feel sorry for the people of North Korea. I think anything that you can do to increase their wages is fine, but I mean, nobody wants to support the government in North Korea.
So yeah, we got this from BleedingFool. Skybound dresses alleged use Korean animation. To our fans, Skybound has been made aware of an unconfirmed report concerning a cloud storage server connected to a North Korean IP address. This server supposedly contains an invincible sketch. Our official statement is as follows.
Yeah, it's down below there. We do not work with North Korean companies or any affiliated entities and have no knowledge of any North Korean companies working on our animation. Basically, they're denying any of the rumors going on. So,
or they're denying any complicity.
Right. Yeah. So basically what this come out of is a report that some images or something like that were found on a North Korean server. And the company is denying any knowledge of this, which could very well be the case. Like it could be a company that outsourced another company that outsourced another company or something like that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's the way we are because we don't know yet. And how many degrees of separation are they trying to put into just this statement? We've been made aware, number one, meaning we didn't know. Number two, it's an unconfirmed report. There's your second one. A cloud storage server connected to some North Korean IP address. There's your third one. And then it supposedly contains an invincible animation sketch. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know her name, if she exists, where she might have been, and even what she looks like. So,
and I didn't know she was 14.
I didn't know you knew my Canadian. What?
It depends on your definition of North Korea.
That's right.
But we don't have any more information than you guys do. So we just reported on it.
Okay, but I mean, this isn't the first time that things have been outsourced to North Korea.
Yeah,
they're kind of a foundry for animation, cheap animation, because of what their domestic labor practices are.
Right.
I mean, they participated in several projects via France and other countries that actually became part of even some Disney animation. So this isn't new.
No, and my side hustle, or really my main gig, is a video production studio. And we've done some animation work before, and we've used American animators. We've used Canadian animators. I've used a Ukraine company that does some animation. And it just occurred to me that if the Ukrainian company had been outsourcing, subcontracting someone in another country, how would I know unless they told me? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. They're basically been, said to have worked on things like Transformers, The Lion King, Pocahontas, more things like that.
I think the giveaway is if the characters come back talking like this.
No,
yeah, if
they
you
don't.
can't
They don't.
synchronize.
They
Yeah,
don't do. They don't do the voices.
Oh,
But
see,
okay.
they're screwing my joke. See,
you are. You're stepping
my
all
joke.
over it, culture.
I think the big problem is when they hide pictures of Kim Jong Un in their
Yeah.
stores.
That's right.
Yeah.
They have a cup, and it's got Kim Jong Un on the cup.
That's right.
You know, what do you call it? Cartoon Brew did a story on this yesterday.
Did they?
Yeah. I mean, this is, again, it's just not a first. In fact, this is probably the same story that you guys are reporting on.
Par for the course, I guess, is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, this statement came out a couple of days ago. I think it came out Sunday evening.
So number one, personally, what do you feel about it? Number two, do you think there's like a Bud Lighting of a company's efforts if we find out that this happened? Are we going to be enraged enough to stop watching a cartoon?
Right.
What are your thoughts?
No, but I don't think it's that, Paul. I think I mean, you're looking at Amazon, Warner Brothers, other major studios being sanctioned by the U.S. government. That could happen.
Yep. That's serious.
So you think it's more about that culture than just the idea that they're paying a lower wage for the work than they would have to pay for their domestic counterparts?
Oh, no, I think that'll be something that'll play a factor there as well. I mean, then we've got agreements where this is not supposed to happen. If it has happened, and again, I'm going to say allegedly, and all these other fancy, I'm going to step back from the situation words, but there are real penalties that, these companies could be subjected to. And again, I mean, we have a lot of American companies that have dalliances with forced labor and things like that I think, really certainly aren't investigated or punished the way they should be, and thank God some of the people in the government have recognized that they need to bring manufacturing back to the United States, but they also need to bring some of these other jobs back to the U.S., right?
Sure.
Yeah.
They do say, that their policies strictly prohibit subcontracting to third parties without prior consent. So they didn't seek it. They didn't grant it. They ask all their contractors to comply with all the rules and laws in their area. So, I mean, I think they're covered in case something happened. They're going to do an internal investigation. They may already know what the conclusion of that investigation is, but I suspect they're just going to let this peter out and not say anything else about it if they can get away with that.
I do think it's funny that North Korea has nuclear weapons and cartooning.
That's great. I mean, it's almost like America.
It's an economy. We don't animate. What the hell are you talking about?
Do you got? Yeah, right. Do you? No, I've got a couple of local animators.
I know. I'm just picking on you. But as far as major animation, we don't anymore. We've outsourced that stuff for like 50 years.
You're right. I guess another question might be, who's still watching Invincible? Is that still a thing? I mean,
It's still a pretty popular show from my understanding, but I'm curious how this will affect the show overall. I mean, kind of going off of a conversation we were having before the show, I mean, how much of the general public is even aware of this?
Right.
And how much will they really care?
Who cares? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Paul was saying. I mean, it's just like, who's going to care? Or are people going to stop watching a cartoon?
Yeah.
And it'd be different if it was an entire episode, maybe, where we're talking like they said, one saying it's drawing, another person said it animation. So which is it?
Sketch, yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been, we do like motion storyboards. A lot of times you'll do sort of a pre-production version of the stuff. They could have outsourced that. Who knows? I mean, I think really that is the key, is the audience that's watching this don't care. It's not like somebody said, that the animated Superman is misogynistic and, trying to upset fans of another animated property. But most people won't care. Now, if they get sanctioned or not sanctioned, but if they get punished for something, that might be newsworthy. But of course, Amazon has deep pockets. I really don't think this is going to have any impact either way.
Not only that, does Amazon even fall under the same regulations as most Hollywood stuff? Because I know,
yes,
like Netflix usually gets away with a lot of shit too.
Yeah, but I mean, the sanctions that would be imposed are imposed on like everything, not just this. I mean, it was according to Cartoon Brews.
You're talking
article.
like a government sanction kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. But no, Paul brought up a good question. I don't think people will care. Paul, do you think people will care that this is coming out of North Korea?
I guess it depends on the property.
Really? Okay.
So, I mean, I could see something hilarious like, I mean, not that Wish needs to be kicked while it's down, but it would be funny if before Wish was released, it would come out that it was animated in North Korea. Then I think people would be talking about it. But this, I don't think so. It's what's funny is they're claiming it's just one pic on a server. It's not like Anthony Weiner dick pics. I mean,
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
It's not like some kind of smoking gun of some sort or something. Like it feels like.
Speaking of dick pics, but
yeah, exactly.
So, but I think if you see one mouse in the house, you've got many.
True.
So I think this is going to people are going to be investigating this further right now, and we'll find out more. And other animation studios are now going to be checking their suppliers the way Apple did when they don't want to have child labor involved in the making of their iPhones, or at least they don't want to be found out.
Well, and Angela Richter brings up a good point for $10. I don't want anything produced by slave labor. Well, and that's kind of the whole point of this, right?
Well, that's animation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's animation
with a battery in it these days.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've been involved in animation. It's slave labor. I don't care.
It is slave labor. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
It's
unfortunately your shoes you have on, probably the clothes you're wearing. It's hard to say. A lot of the things have some sort of source somewhere that you're probably not going to be too happy about.
If you want brutal animation conditions, talk to the people who churn out manga and animes in Japan.
Yeah.
That is frightening.
Yeah.
Soul sucking. We love those properties, but some people are cranking out a manga every week. It's brutal.
Well, I didn't anticipate talking about that, but thank you, Hyperguyver, for getting us on that subject. That was an interesting topic. Dr. Long Dongler sends in £1.99 to remind us to pound that like button. Thank you for that. We have our injured
Wiener.
What was that?
Speaking of Anthony Weiner, you talked about pounding.
That's true. We got CC Karaoke, who hurt himself on the slopes the other day in the chat, sending in 222 Canadian, says, not woke, my force is female, bunghole. Well, of course, he's referring to the main topic of today, which we'll get into in just a moment here. We got Dark King here with Australian 2. It says 25th of April, ANZAC Anzac Day in Australia and New Zealand, lest we forget. What is Anzac Day? Somebody explain this one to me.
It's the Remembrance Day.
So like a Memorial Day kind of thing?
Yeah. Your Memorial Day.
Okay. Well, happy Anzac Day, or however you say it in
everyone who served in a war in Australia and New Zealand.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So
it's also Anzac is also a diet supplement.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Hey, I don't know everything, Alex.
It's not. I'm just kidding. It's how.
The more Tom knows.
Zembic.
Delicious.
There we go. And then we've got
my brain works, Culture. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
He's shaking his head.
Well, he always goes to the medical terms. So anyway, Packing Protons is in the house, sending in $4.99. How you doing, buddy? So there's an easy way Kennedy can prove she isn't woke. Rehire Gina Carano. Instant message sent your move, Kathy. Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't see her doing it because
I think we need a list. We need a list of the ways that Kathleen Kennedy could prove she's not woke, and that would be
that would be number one. And honestly,
about this, you can make a separation between woke and obsessed, and
to a point, yeah.
And just putting in women in everything doesn't technically make you woke.
True.
Woke has broader implications, but I just thought I'd I'd bring that up. So
Okay, but
we can.
let's talk about the colloquial version of the understanding of that word, because a lot of people aren't going to dive into nuance of woke. They won't dive into the nuance of intersectional or any of these other terms that we use like neo-Marxist, things like that. What they understand is that woke is bad. It's essentially utilized as a form of cultural Marxism in the reduction of the quality of entertainment.
Now,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's that, I mean, colloquially understood. And that's why a lot of people that are, in education, academia, try to say, well, nobody knows what woke means.
well, it also includes a component of cancel culture.
Yeah. A component. Yeah. It's like, yeah, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah.
Okay. Small-minded thinking. Well done.
Yep.
Surf it up. Yeah.
No, it's exactly right. You need to be part of the crew.
Yeah. I don't have time for that.
No. So,
Well,
discussing whether she is theoretically woke or not is crazy. We can all point to the fact that almost everything she's touched turned to shit. So who cares?
Well,
But-
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Agreed. I agree with everything you're saying, but I got to say, after reading this article from the great John Trent over at that Park Place, the premise is suspect because this insider made this claim on an April 1st episode of their podcast. So I don't know, if that has any bearing on the veracity of it or not.
I didn't know that. Okay, so let's back this up just a little bit. Sorry, Chris, but let's let the audience,
Yeah,
for
go
those
ahead.
few people out there who may not know where this even came from, right? So originally this came from Matthew Baloney, right? Culture, that was
Yes.
the source of it. So
Yeah.
that is a name that most of us know around here. He's a quote unquote insider who used to work for Variety, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He worked for a lot
Yeah.
of inside entertainment stuff. He knows his stuff. It's not baloney.
So he started his own blog or whatever you want to call it on Patreon and stuff. And this is where a lot of this stuff has been coming out.
It's Puck Media.
Or Puck
Yeah.
Media or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this story had come out and Screen Rant ran with it. That Kathleen Kennedy isn't exactly the woke warrior that people insist she is. In fact, the quote was basically that South Park got it wrong. Am I close enough there, Culture?
Yep.
Is that what they said?
Yeah. Yep. And that inspired this thumbnail. So it was super fun. Anyway. But
Yeah. So basically, she's not going around.
Put a tick in it, make her gay.
Which we all know is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen the interviews. We've heard what she said, as Paul and Chris were just saying. It'd be one thing if there was a benefit of the doubt to go into this with. And I mean, I can almost believe to a point that she's setting somebody up for the fall. Like she'll just go, well, I'm not really woke. I was just going by what so-and-so and Pablo Hidalgo and this guy over here were saying, right? I had no idea. I was destroying Star Wars. She's going to jump out behind that someday. What do you guys think on that? No, like, you think she's setting somebody up here? Or do you think this is damage control? What do you think's going on here? Is this just an April Fool's joke?
Baloney is just doing damage control. Look, just like anyone else, if you want traction, you get it in a couple of ways. And right now, I mean, think about the modern mentality. It's the acquisition of power is paramount, and it's the only thing that matters, right? So Matt's building up his media empire with Puck Media. He went a different direction. He's not owned by Penske Media anymore, and he's moving in a different. I don't know. What do you think, Paul? Do you think I'm off base to say that he's not positioning himself for more insider access from Disney and other places by doing something like this?
What an interesting. So you think he's a fart catcher?
I think he's turned into one. I don't think that's how he started out, but once he got traction and he got attention and I would say that it's easier to surf off of somebody else's stuff.
Well, I guess it's a function of whether he knows enough about Disney and what's happening in the near and far term.
Right.
Because why would you hitch your wagon on someone who, in theory, is going to be gone in a few months?
Well, Penske Media is, it's all about access. That's what access media is all about,
Sure.
right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it, if you're
Interesting.
analyzing,
That's a very interesting angle.
yeah, the other way to approach it, I would think, would be that somebody came to him with information, somebody he thinks is credible, and said, "Look, I've worked with Kathy. She doesn't believe any of this stuff." And Matt may not have done enough research into the interviews and other, as Tom had suggested, into the interviews and other things around it that he didn't. He just ran with what he's heard. Now, again, this was in a podcast that was done, right? I think, although he did publish an article. I mean, he said some stuff along the way. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he's even reported towards similar stories as us. So, like,
Yeah.
that's where this story coming. Like, I didn't know until Chris just brought this to our attention that this initially came from an April 1st broadcast. So it makes me wonder now if it wasn't an April Fool's joke. Because yeah, we all know she said in the interviews about how she went to Saturday Night Live shooting, and she observed how all of the cameramen were men, and it was just wrong that there weren't no female camera women, and all this other shit. And she talks, yeah, she talks like one of those people, right? Like, so that's the thing. It's not even like, she has to go out there and use terms like woke. She acts woke, right? Like, you can tell her whole, plan from the very start was to try and do this the way she wanted to, because I believe that story that came out. That's the only thing that we don't have actual proof if she said it or not, but it's been reported on enough times. And that is when the whole Parks thing came down, and she supposedly said that Star Wars is not 50-year-old men and Luke Skywalker. The future is Rey and all these kids, right? So in a sense, that's just business talking to a point, but it's stupid business. But I wouldn't call that necessarily woke. But at the same time, the proof is in the pudding, like we've said a million times over. Every one of her fucking shows now has some female insert that is her, right? It is almost obvious. You have the same, usually British, brown-haired, samey kind of looking woman in each one of these movies and shows now, up through Indiana Jones. This self-insert character of hers that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And you cannot pretend anymore that it's not. So is it, okay, so if it isn't woke, then it's her own self-fulfilling fucking prophecy, one way or the other. Like, I don't understand this. But Chris, you're back here now. So what's your take on all this business?
Well, I don't know that, she probably doesn't. First of all, anybody that's an insider working at Disney might not even know how you would define a woke warrior. It might just look like normal behavior to them, because it is a bit of a nebulous term.
That's a good point.
Secondly, again, I stand by my April 1st thing. I think you're absolutely right, Tom, that it's all self-insert. And I don't think that Kathleen is the type of person that would say, thank you for that correction. Let me see how I can make the next one better. I think that what they're doing is, the only thank you for that correction is, okay, well, that one didn't make us a bunch of money. Let's try a new approach. Same protagonist, same self-insert, different set of writers, or different, whatever, a different premise for the next project. Because whether it's the new video game, or whether it's the Indiana Jones star, or whether it's, the latest Disney show, they all seem to have the same insufferable female protagonist that no one is connecting with. Now, I don't know about that new video game yet, but of course she's not attractive at all, intentionally so, it appears. I don't know. I feel like if they haven't gotten rid of Kathleen yet, she ain't going anywhere. She could lose as much money as they want. She is embedded, and it might have been, part of the Lucasfilm deal that we just aren't privy to. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy into this business. Now, I buy into, she may not necessarily understand what woke means, but she is one of these old school feminists, and this is something that she's been waiting for, right? Like, you can get that about her. Like, she feels like this is her moment in the sun finally.
Yeah.
Right? She has spent so long in Steven's shadow. Now is her time to shine. And everything she has done has fallen flat on its face. So I think if there is any truth to this report, I think that you guys are kind of leaning more into what I'm leaning into, and that is this is damage control of a massive proportion. Like, she knows she's in trouble. She knows that Star Wars and Lucasfilm and her image are in the dumpster, and she's finally become self-aware, I guess. I can't believe it's taken this long, but that's the only
Maybe.
thing I can understand if this isn't a April Fool's joke.
Yeah, right. You know, again, couch that though briefly. It could be that the insiders are just trying, like you say, doing some damage control. It doesn't sound like. I mean, what's the point of saying she's not a woke warrior? Is that going to suddenly make all of us go, "Oh, well, damn, we didn't get it." Okay, now that we know that she's not a woke warrior, now we can embrace these properties. It's not the wokeness. It's not the label that we can't embrace. It, first of all, it stinks and it makes us feel like it's cringy. And then we start assessing it and going, what's in this dish? Oh, there it is. Now that I can step away from it, I see the ingredients. And obviously, it's all this woke crap that I don't like, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I think Paul said earlier, just, because not everything is woke. If I went to see Jim Cameron's Aliens for the first time, I wouldn't immediately think, oh gosh, female protagonist, strong female protagonist, this is woke. Well, no. But then when you see, whatever the last Terminator was, that Tim Miller did,
Dark Fate, yeah.
And you go, why does this suck? Well, it's not just because it's got some woke elements, but that was definitely one of the ingredients. If I was not so in touch with the news like you guys, entertainment news, I also wouldn't know that the director came out before the movie came out and said this movie's going to scare the F out of misogynists, or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't even think, I just feel like Hollywood is so out of touch with the mainstream audience that's why they would come out and say, hey, she's not a woke warrior, guys, don't worry about it. Who cares what you say? We'll watch the product and we'll tell you what we think. That's how it works.
Yeah. Paul, do you have anything more to say on
No, I
Kennedy?
have spoken frequently about being careful charging at ghosts.
Yeah.
With this, we've gotten very touchy and gun shy about existing properties that we've loved. I mean, no one's going to, watch the Riri version of Iron Man. No one cares. So, a lot of this woke stuff really is attached to comic books, games, and pop culture properties, where it seems to be the most evident.
Yeah.
Because the geeks and who created these properties many years ago, and also created the technology to create the 3D that allowed them to do the movies, were a lot of just guys. And so you've got a new contingent of individuals who hate us, hate what we built, and want to tear it all down. So that's part of the woke mindset. But when it comes to like a regular movie, for instance, Polly and I watched Brideshead Revisited, not Brideshead, Bride and Prejudice, which is an Anglo-Indian film, a take on Pride and Prejudice. And they had a segment where there were cross-dressing dancers, which is part of the Indian culture of a segment of India. So all these guys with beards and everything else, but they're dressed up as women and they were part of the dancing crew. So if they had released that film now, you'd go, oh, that's woke. But no, that's part of Indian culture. And it was actually kind of fun to see them included in the movie. So yeah, it's a part of it is a time and place thing. And we really do need to fight this nonsense. I mean, I'll also point out Fallout. Fallout has got some very obvious modern audience things in it, but not enough to hurt the story. And as Chris said, yeah, look at the final product. Is the final product entertaining? And part of the problem is that a lot of this woke stuff that is the only reason they've made the product. That's the problem, is that it's not backstory. It is suffuse with their need to tell us how wrong we are, and then it just makes for lousy entertainment. We just want to be entertained. We don't.
Well,
care.
yeah, and that's, you know, basically where stuff like the Acolyte comes in, right? Like, you can sit here and pretend all day long, and this is where I said earlier, and I think you and I are kind of coming from the same place, Paul, in that she may not believe she's woke. She may not think what she's doing is woke, but it is. And not only that, I think her place is, like I said earlier, is where she's coming from, is this old school feminist view, right? Because you got to remember where she's coming from, right? She was a teenager growing up. You know, she's in her late 60s, early 70s, somewhere in there. So, you know, she come up in the era of cocaine and capitalism of Hollywood. She watched all this shit happen around her. This is where she sees it as her moment in the sun, and she took over all these major properties, and she was meant to be this golden goose, right? And basically she's been nothing but a goose. Like, at the end of the day,
Well,
take the
she
golden
kind of
bird out.
reminds me. The most insufferable person in the United States is John Kerry. I hate.
You sure it's not Bill Gates? But okay.
No.
Right.
To me, every time he opens his golden mouth, stupid shit comes out of it.
A lecture.
Pardon me?
A lecture.
Yes, a lecture, and the man has no issues.
No.
And he's telling everybody, you know, just how horrible the world is and how much better it should be. Everything's a lecture. I find the man insufferable.
Well, and I see her more so acting
She's
out
like
like
that.
in,
That to me, she's
in
from
revenge
that
of,
era.
I see her more acting out in revenge that she's been under the thumbnail of men
There's
for
that
the last 50 years. But Chris, what were you going to say there?
Well,
Sorry.
I think you're both right. I mean, these people are complex creatures, right? So she may have people around her that are saying, "Oh my gosh, Kathleen, what a perfect opportunity for us to address embedded misogyny in the world. Maybe we could do a little something like this." And she might be thinking to herself, yes, I am this savior to these properties. I can imbue them with some of the things that were sorely lacking in the original Star Wars trilogy. I think we can fix that. We have an opportunity here to not only entertain, but to fix. But I also think there's a little spitefulness in it. And I've when we were kids and you might be playing with action figures, okay, let's just imagine yourself under the age of 12, assuming that you didn't play with action figures after that, although I do have a couple up here on my shelf. And then the mean rich kid comes over that nobody likes, right? He's totally spoiled. He's never been held accountable or punished for anything. He's a total brat. And then he sees your Chewbacca and Darth Vader characters you're playing with, and he picks them up and starts having Chewbacca rape Darth Vader, you know, and you're like, that's not how this works. What are you doing? And they just laugh and say, well, if you're not going to include me, I'll do what I want. And so Kathleen Kennedy and her minions, or her acolytes, if you will, are able to take these toys that used to belong to the fans, and now they can do them with what they will. Do what thou will. That's sort of what they're doing. And you know, who cares what anybody that criticizes it is clearly toxic. I mean, it's sort of an overworn formula. I'll be glad when it is over. I just wonder if Kathleen Kennedy saw the South Park episode, because it looks like the new game has a chick in it and she's lame. I don't know if she's gay.
Probably.
She looks pretty gay.
She looks like she would be put
another gay-diverse woman in it. Make it more fucking lame.
No, but Chris,
you
know, it's funny. Can I take your analogy one step further? Because I love it. I think I would take that analogy you just came up with, but Kathleen Kennedy is the mother in this analogy. And woke is your kid's sister who wants to play with you and your friends. And you say, no, because you don't do it right. So she goes to mom and complains that you're not letting her play. So mom, being Kathleen Kennedy, comes over and says, now you got to let your sister play too. Whatever she wants, you got to let her do.
And the next thing you know, Buzz Lightyear is at a tea party.
Exactly. Buzz Lightyear's at a tea party, and Barbie is the best Jedi in the universe. Right. So
nailed it. That's perfect. That is an improvement on the analogy.
It is, because she's not really doing anything, right? Like, she's not doing anything like to help the situation, or her. She's just shoving the sister in there and saying, "Here, let her
Mhm.
come up with this stuff."
Mhm.
Like, and that's an analogy for her basically taking all these people who have nothing to do with Star Wars, Leslie Headland, for instance, and saying, "Here, you have to let her play with your toys."
And why is Leslie Headland in there doing something that could be cool? Honestly, the premise is very interesting. I think it could have been very interesting if handled right. I haven't seen it yet. Leslie might blow us all away. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt until now, even though I'm sus. It's extremely sus. But she fired Lord Miller off the Solo movie, which ostensibly still was some sort of a comedy. I now wish we could have gotten that version of Solo. It had to have been an improvement over what we received.
And
So
that's
it's like
something
she's not
where,
even making great decisions, but she is making big decisions. You know what I mean? A movie that's underway. I think the only saving grace was not Andor, but Rogue One. You know, that turned out to be a pretty good movie, and Andor turned out to be a pretty good series.
I haven't seen Andor. I saw, like, can't remember how many episodes. But it was one of those shows I remember watching going, yeah, this is not as bad as the other stuff, but I'm not like
Yeah.
dying to go back to it either to finish it. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's
you
plain
know,
chicken. It's plain chicken. Okay,
yeah.
it tastes like Star Wars. Good job. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, maybe it needs some
And
salt.
Andor had the roots of something really good. That's a direction that Star Wars could have gone in, and I would have been very happy with it. A very literate version of Star Wars. I was there. I just don't think it was totally executed. But yeah, there was some really good ideas in there.
Well, just think if that had been the weakest example of what they're
Yes.
doing with Star Wars, imagine how good it could be. But you've got Kenobi, you've got Ahsoka, you've got
You're right. That's one of the
so many-
highlights, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah, in other words, we would all be saying, you know, Andor, man, it really, I liked a lot of it. It was a bit more of a procedural, a little more grounded, which I kind of liked, but I really like the big space fantasy epic stuff more. I can't wait till they get back to that. But yeah, Andor was pretty good.
No, the problem is they dropped the ball on things like Kenobi,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Kenobi
that
was-
is,
oh gosh.
and that was where I think Culture will remember this, and I think Paul was around then too at that point, where we had flat out said, like, you know, through all the stuff that they had done, the Luke Skywalker moment, Gina Carano, the thing that really lost the general public, the big portion of it was when they did Obi-Wan Kenobi show, because that's when people tuned in.
Yep.
And then people are like, what the hell is this? Because it kind of reminded me of the Star Trek effect, right? Because a lot of people are just like, yeah, I don't really care about Star Trek anymore, but whatever. You know, when we were talking about Star Trek Discovery. But as soon as Picard happened,
Right.
then people checked in and they're like, well, what the hell is this?
And we
You know,
like Ewan McGregor. And
yeah, well,
you know,
that's
then
what the
we-
draw was, right, Paul? Like, I
and when we
mean,
later on find out they retconned Luke out of it to substitute
Leia.
Leia, which made no sense. I mean, it was really clear that it was the worst shoehorning that you could possibly have done. Was that Kennedy?
Yeah, it's like how did they figure that was the direction? I would love to be at the meeting when somebody said, "Hey, I got an idea. Instead of him looking after Luke, what if he looks after Leia?" And no one pushed back and said that makes no sense at all.
well, he
He's
should have
on
been.
Tatooine.
I was gonna say he shouldn't even have been in contact with either of them. And
True.
this is because the thing writes itself. It's right there in Star Wars, right? This story should have been something is happening that, you know, could affect Luke,
Yep.
and Obi-Wan has to be the barrier between that and Luke. And at the end of that confrontation is where, you know, Uncle Owen goes, look, I can't have you putting this kid in danger anymore. Stay as far away from
Right.
as you can.
Yeah.
You know, keep your distance. And then the same thing with Luke. You know, you end with the scene where he's like, Luke going, well, who's that? He's like, oh, that old man, don't mind him. He's crazy. That's Ben.
But you have
You
to
know,
give
and
the
that's your
full-
line set up right there. Yeah.
You have to. We have to get to the super chats, but you have to give
Yes, we do.
Obi-Wan credit for one innovation. Lightsabers no longer kill you.
Oh God.
That's its most innovative contribution
Pretty
to the
much.
Star Wars universe.
Well, as long as you're a woman, anyway.
No,
is.
right? You can
Girl
clearly.
power. The force is female. I mean, come on.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That should have been Darth
always-
Maul trying to come
when
after
you,
Luke.
When you battle a woman with a lightsaber, you turn it down to simmer.
Set to simmer.
Set to simmer. Barbecue, bake, roast, simmer.
So what was it set for when it came to Darth Maul? Like sever?
I don't know. Sizzling.
Sizzling. We got Chaos Sonic 1 with $2 says usually women get woke when they hit the wall. Well, Kathy hit the wall a long time ago on that part. But she fucked her way into this business, let's say. But yeah.
Well, I mean, we're living in an age where you attach yourself to victimhood ideology to show how important you are and what your contribution is. You no longer actually have to make the contribution. You can join a bunch of dilettantes out on a university quadrangle, and there's your contribution to humanity. That's just the age we're living in.
Well, there's this book called The Secret History of Star Wars, I think, if I'm saying it correctly. I can't recall the author offhand either, but it's got a ton of interviews and other collections of things going into the history of the making of Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy does not come up all that much in that book. But the one time that I do recall her coming up, and this is what's funny about this, is because her and George only kind of cross over with Indiana Jones and stuff. And they used to hang out with the whole SC Mafia thing with all the kids from University of California and all that shit.
Southern California, yeah.
Southern California, yeah. Well, she, for some reason, and I could never figure out because they don't explain it in the book why, but this is the one part where I remember him and Kathy crossing paths in the book before Indiana Jones, and that is George knew that she was fucking Frank, but didn't want Steven to know.
Oh.
So do that what you will with that information. Like, I'm just sitting here like drawing conclusions going, well, why wouldn't Steven want to know? Or why wouldn't you want Steven to know? Or why is it a big deal if Steven knows if Kathleen Kennedy's fucking Frank Marshall or not?
Because Frank was deeply involved. Frank was deeply involved in the movies.
He was.
That would be kind of nepotism. I think she would probably want to keep that out.
What's funny is you go from Frank being the main guy, then all of a sudden she's the main thing. You know, like Frank's there, but it's all Kathy. But it's just weird that she wouldn't want Steven to know. That's the weird thing. So what was she doing with Steven? You know, I mean, that's the thing that's got me kind of wondering. Huh?
Well, Steven married his own shiksa. So I don't know.
Fuck. Steven was always, he couldn't keep his shit straight. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he was doinking what's her face during Indiana Jones, even though he claims he wasn't.
I think we're off topic.
We are a little bit, but hey, we're on topic because it still has to do with KK and their bullshit. Callum Lyle sends in 5 Australian, says she has a very bigoted view of people, or at least normal people, but mostly men. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Kate Capshaw, that's who I was trying to think of. Callum Lyle sends in 5 and says, but it's obvious she's driven by spite, insecurity, and envy. Yes. See, and this is kind of
Hollywood. Sorry, no. This is like a qualification.
Yeah, welcome to Hollywood.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. She has happened to be given power, and maybe because of her relationship with Steven and perhaps George and whatever she knew about each of them is why she's where she is today.
I think that's why she's. I think there's no doubt about that, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. I mean, she really didn't have a particular set of skills. She's not Liam Neeson. I mean, she brought a good cup of coffee. There you go.
We don't even know if that's true.
Well, come on. I mean, would Spielberg lie about that?
Nice.
We just know that she had to be there, and Spielberg would. Did he say that ever? I'm trying to remember him actually saying her something. All I remember him saying is all she ever did was come up with bad ideas.
It was the same part of thing. What if our main character ended up with the dog was the example he used. So, but he also said that she brought coffee, So
She's
there
supposed
you
to be
go.
an assistant, but he's like, she's a horrible secretary. She's horrible at taking notes. So in other words, she's horrible at doing her job.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
And
some
yeah,
reason she's
and
still
he has
there.
walked back
She's-
those comments.
Well, he had to. Are you kidding? You know, women in Hollywood are oppressed.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Fudge.
Yeah. And then we got Glade Ribbon here who says KK is a boomer. She probably doesn't know what woke means.
Okay,
And other people aren't going to tell her. In fact, they tell her the exact opposite.
So
See, I understand this. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually an incredible article out there that I dropped in the private chat from EV Magazine about how Gen Z is like, woke is only for ugly and old people.
I don't see this article
I
you're
don't
talking
see
about.
it in the private chat.
You sent the Cartoon Brew one like twice. I
Yep.
think is what you're thinking. You sent the other one.
All right. Let me send you this.
Because like from now, and today you're just gonna have to share shit. I'm not. Yeah.
Well, no, I was trying to do it quietly. Let me give it a go.
Yeah,
here.
just share
Yeah.
shit, man. Because
weird.
today I'm not in any
This is
way,
how the
shape, or form.
sausage is made, folks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Normally I'm doing the producerial role, and yeah, so
And today it's me, which is bad news for you guys because I'm awful at it. All right.
nah. Well, I don't have
the
Mike
Mini
either. He's
magazine is a good mag. I mean, I think it's on our wavelength.
I think it's kind of funny. This article is hysterically funny. So, and it is based off of a premise like, the dog ate my cat or something. But I think it has a lot of truth or rings of truth.
You mean
so,
the dog ate my homework? Because the first thing could actually happen.
Dog ate my cat.
You don't know.
That has happened in the past. Yes. They're known to be natural enemies.
Yeah, and this is a question. This was just a few days ago, right before tax day. Gen Z believes wokeism is only for ugly people.
Thank God they figured it out.
Well, you're going to see why they this kind of rings of truth. So this is Andrea Muse saying that the cult of woke has certain aesthetic qualities, but if rumors are to be believed, they're falling out of fashion and fast. So honestly, mom, kids my age all think that woke is only for ugly people, is what allegedly a 16-year-old son of a Twitter user said when she teased him. She wouldn't pay thousands of dollars for him to go to college and come home woke. The tweet went viral for cluing internet users into the potential inner workings of Gen Z brain. Is wokeness part and parcel of the youth experience, or is it quite passé and looked upon like any other out-of-fashion trend? So here's the actual quote from Sister
I like
Star.
that. I'm not going to spend a bunch of money for my kid to come home.
Yeah. Yeah, and so here we go. So no one really seems to know what woke means anymore, which is kind of a thing I brought up earlier.
Yep.
Colloquially, it's a catch-all term for the extreme leftist neo-Marxist movement. But people in progressive circles, it's an interesting way to say, tricky, have tried to reclaim it as part of the Black vernacular English lexicon, initially meaning someone who is aware of social or political injustices. People in conservative circles use it pejoratively and, liberally to mean anything that shifts the Overton window toward authoritative political correctness and identity politics, which is, I think, what most of us understand it to be. But the textbook definition notwithstanding, we all kind of know what woke looks like. And if the rumors are indeed true, wokeness is only for ugly people. Could this even be possible? Can a particular social movement or political identity be uglier than another? Yes. Let's do a little style analysis on woke and determine if Gen Z will render this presumed fad obsolete. Hey Siri, what does woke look like? When you hear the word woke, what images begin populating in your brain? You might conjure up the general visualizations based on people within any woke movement who then become viral memes like Trigglypuff. Perhaps he or she was vividly or unnaturally colorful hair dyed pink, purple, green, blue, and red, which is cut or buzzed into edgy styles like microbangs, undercuts, or pixie cuts. Perhaps he or she is either shockingly skinny or with barely visible musculature that points to a diet deficient in any animal-based nutrition, or he or she is totally out of shape with a BMI ranging from obese to morbidly obese that points to a lethargic lifestyle and hedonistic tendencies. So here are some elements of strangeness. So they keep going through all of that. So anyway, Perhaps he or she dresses in alternative fashions that your average Joe or Jane wouldn't be caught dead wearing unless it were Halloween. Perhaps he or she isn't easily designated by the naked eye as man or woman, and they get off on the fact that they can confuse the masses into their delusions that they can transition from one thing to another. Perhaps he or she cares about having preferred pronouns in their bio to such an extreme that they even wear a badge so strangers don't misgender them. Perhaps he or she is an air of angst and gloom that follows them like a shadow, their internal victim mentality presenting externally and signaling to onlookers that you better be on your best behavior around them, lest you get accused of hate crimes such as racism, sexism, classism, ageism, ableism, or homophobia and the other thing. Yeah, meet our family. Good luck with that. Okay. These presumptions, while oddly specific but frankly applicable to many everyday woke person, are really more along the lines of a caricature of what people call social justice warriors or SJWs. I draw this distinction because that progressive persona not only has a look, but an attached set of guiding principles with which they govern their ideological thought patterns and voting behavior. Like them or not, alternative aesthetics are here to stay. And some people just figured it as a fad, just a bunch of Comic-Con or anime regulars whom you'd only witness emerging into the outside world. And we can go on through all of these things, but I think they've stumbled onto something. The theme park, crafted very carefully by Walt Disney with a curated image in mind for his cast members or employees, used to be discernible from any other theme park. Cast members were expected to wear their hair in approved, mature styles with natural colors, not have visible tattoos or piercings, and no matter their race or age, generally uphold the wholesome Disney look. And though I don't frequent Disneyland anymore, I return to those childhood experiences every now and then. I'm always bewildered by how lazy park standards have become. This is true. So, of course, all the other things that we've seen. Yeah, so this article is fairly long, but I think it's kind of fun. So, some generalizations exist for a reason, or so the science says. Back in 2018, two research articles made national headlines for asserting that political conservatives hold beauty advantages over liberals. Wow. Revisiting this Rob Henderson statement. You can still find this at cambridge.org, by the way.
I don't think Rob is conservative. Just saying.
Yeah. People who have tried to extrapolate why this is, asserting that because Republicans oppose redistribution of wealth and high taxes, they keep more of their income and richer people tend to be more attractive. Others think it's because conservatives haven't faced the challenges of other citizens and have had easier experiences in life. These extrapolated correlations can hardly apply to all conservatives and don't prove causation.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that last part I don't understand. Like that. How does your political stance dictate your financial situation in life?
It's referring to a value set beyond what is stated here in this paragraph.
I would actually say it's more so based on, okay, I don't have money, so of course I'm going to gravitate towards more socialist type programs. If I do have money, of course I'm going to try to save it or make more money from it. It's just a natural human thing.
Actually, your normal, well, the way most normal brains work, people try to acquire more money. They don't have enough money.
Right. But I'm talking about how the Democrats work and the Republicans work. Like, to me, it's something you come to. It's not something you're born to, I guess is the point I'm trying to make here.
Well,
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Well,
whether you're a religious family or not.
Also true.
Well, there's that too. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of factors that go into this. They're like coming up like that. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, Paul. Like compared to what I'm saying here is,
let me read the next paragraph because I think it'll help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What's more likely going on is, generally speaking, people find it that conventionally masculine men and conventionally feminine women are more attractive than those that go against the grain. Conservatives, who are less likely to alter their appearance, or if they do so in less obtrusive ways, are therefore perceived as more attractive since they fit the norm. In America, elected Republican women have found by research to have more feminine facial features than elected Democrat women. Men who have higher upper body strength, meaning a more stereotypical masculine physique, have been found by researchers to be less likely to support higher taxes. I mean, I know these things are odd correlations, but they seem to be true. According to recent studies, even machine learning software, which is allegedly supposed to generate decision based on patterns that real humans make, rate conservative women as more attractive and happier than liberal women. I find this particularly funny when taking into considerations that products like ChatGPT actually tend to lean liberal with their own learned biases.
Mm,
It's true.
you know what? Well, I just want to say one thing
hmm
on the attractiveness part or whatever it's saying.
hmm
I've seen so many pictures of the before woke and after woke photos
hmm
that I think that actually drives somebody to become become less attractive in general.
Hard
Like,
to
I mean,
say.
like that's what I was saying, a causal effect there, I think. Yeah, but anyway, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's more and more that goes into all these factors, but I'm going to pick it up here where it says, so will Gen Z apparently growing jaded by the oversaturation of woke in every element of their lives contribute to the demise of wokeism. In some instances, it seems like political correctness is falling flat. Comedian Shane Gillis is recently brought back to host a legacy late night comedy show, Saturday Night Live, despite being fired in September 2019 amid backlash over quote unquote racist and phobic jokes. I've got to be careful with these words, guys. His recent host appearances was met with mixed reviews based on risque monologue jokes, some of which traded on stereotypes about women, uh, homosexual people, and people with Down syndrome. I never even watched that episode, so I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly good monologue.
Yeah,
I mean,
while
I don't care about the subjects that he was talking about. It was
right, yeah, I mean, funny is funny, but anyway, while
Saturday
the
Night
host,
Live is still on the air.
yeah, I know that's also
I
funny.
know it's the joke.
While this host appearance was certainly not a nail in the coffin for cancel culture, certainly not. It does point to the potential for our culture to recorrect its wildly woke overcorrection. Despite 30% of Gen Z adults identifying as LGBTQ, which is statistically impossible, youth support for same-sex marriage has puzzlingly declined, according to a recent survey, which shows
30%.
yeah,
It's bullshit.
that's what I said.
Yeah, I saw this in another report recently. That goes into that report that Andre and I have been working on that came out of California about the kids, the Gen Z kids and stuff like that are sick of too much sex and being confused by all their media.
Yeah, and that leads into this where it's actually declined across all age brackets now. Anyway, so you can go through all these things, but I'm gonna read the closing thoughts and then we'll wrap it up because we have, obviously people in the chat that we need to get to. Closing thoughts. No matter how teens and young adults are beginning to trend in terms of wokeness, there's no denying that this generation was raised on and indoctrinated by woke principles. In fact, Gen Z might even see through performative corporate wokeness and still demand ideologically progressive outcomes. Not, I tell you what, those are the people being subjected to layoffs right now. This ideology is all encompassing from grade school to higher education to the workplace to government agencies to the media to the private industry and consumer goods and more. Perhaps the pendulum has swung a little too far in one direction, and many in Gen Z have grown dissatisfied with that particular woke aesthetic. But that doesn't change how identity politics have become building blocks of each young person's cognitive development. I would say
And that's
disablement, but that's different.
I was going to say that's a big part of the problem right there. Yeah. Too many people have become too obsessed with that and not just with,
and again, this is a substantial article. I only read about half of it. So if you're interested, if you're interested in it, you get 2 free articles over at EV Magazine. Go check it out. So there you are.
So you sent us something here in the back, Chris.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, I saw this too.
It's a good laugh.
Yeah.
Masked up and no music, but they're dancing. This is Columbia University. I mean, obviously, Columbia University has got more than just a few issues about the Middle East.
Well, sure. And they're and you know what? They just clapped, which you're not allowed to do.
I think you can do the one clap. I think
no. They did the multiple claps. They
that's true.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
violated silently. You know how it looks like you're clapping.
They violated ultimate woke.
It's interesting when you. One of the things that I found was the Freedom Index for universities and colleges in the United States. The ones at the very top that have got the most freedom of speech are all conservative schools.
Wow.
And the worst are the most liberal.
Yeah.
And Columbia's at the bottom. and
Well, that's
so
because
is
the liberal
Harvard,
universities are
and
they're
so is
curating it.
Pennsylvania.
They're curating it, Paul. I mean, it's curated. You don't want to go in and hear a bunch of speech that you don't like. I mean, why would you want that?
When I hear the word curated in certain connotations, it sounds like censored to me.
A little bit, yeah. So this is Columbia University. I saw this online. These are some articles over the years. So it's not just Middle Eastern studies that they're struggling with there. They hate white people. I mean, this Columbia University has just been fraught with problems. So
and that's something parents have said about sending their kids to school too, is like, why would I send my kid to these schools where they're just going to be hated? Like if they have a white
or they'll
kid.
turn woke, just like that evmagazine.com.
Or what are you learning at these schools anymore? Oberlin has got a course on feminist glaciation. Since it's a women's
what the hell
school,
is that?
Frigid. I can guess that. I mean, that makes sense.
Glaciation. Would you
feminist glaciation?
Dumb that down for the rubes.
Like, why would you take that?
I don't even know what glaciation means.
Does that mean that all women are slow?
Glaciers.
Wait, are frigid? Yeah, exactly. Are they calling them frigid?
Yes, I believe they are.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'm so confused, yet I totally understand.
There might be a segment of males that want to learn why women have become frigid. I am not one of those men. I'm happily married.
No, I can tell you why. Woke. That's why.
Well, you should watch my latest episode of Appalling News then, Chris. I've got a video of two women who talk about why they don't need no man. It's
I'm a subscriber. I just need to catch up on all my subscriptions. So
thank you. Now you watch the latest.
Every time I hear them say that shit, I just think of that video of the two lesbians trying to jumpstart their car.
It's almost like
the video.
God gives the good karma. You know, a lot of times when people make statements like that, and then not only does that happen, but there's video of it. You know,
right? Right. Let's keep going here. We got Packing Protons with 10. Thank you so much, Packing Protons. Says the term woke sort of evolved to mean what it means now, just like we know what it means when people say left or right. It used to mean point out injustice and notice it.
That's true.
Yeah, well, and that's where I remember the term social justice warrior first.
Yeah.
Right, SJW was the earlier. Yeah. Olaf sends in €2 and says, great to see Chris on Midnight's Edge in the morning. Yeah, well, we're glad to have him here.
Thank you, Olaf. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Then we got Michael McLeod sending in 20 smackaroos. Holy cow. Says, what needs to happen is the feminist and activists need to be forced out. The ones keeping silent need to take a stand and start speaking out and louder. Start taking a definite stand and others will follow. Okay, I agree with this almost completely, but you don't want to stifle every voice, right? Sometimes you need those other voices in there.
You need contrarians. You need
need contrarians, but they don't need to be completely all feminists, right? Like we need to take that percentage down quite a bit. Yeah.
No,
that I can agree with.
And again, you know, tolerance used to mean a different thing.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
and that's
overall,
the biggest problem. We found the slippery slope in so many different places, and we walked out on it in the name of tolerance.
On our ass. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's in various ways, but it is what it is. And look, I mean, there's so many things coming out now against the science on these various matters that maybe the science TM was manufactured to produce this outcome. And now people are just waking up to that. Well, people are having a wide awakening on a lot of this stuff now. So,
well, what Michael's saying here is kind of what got, or at least the point to what I'm getting at. We have to be careful though, too, because that's what got us here, right? Because I'm sure that a lot of these folks who bought into a lot of this crap are only bought into it because they thought it was the right thing to do, right? Like they thought they were doing the right thing. Because it's really easy to trick somebody into thinking that this is the right way of thinking and the right way of doing things because of the way they make it sound like a religion, right? Like that's where I feel like somebody, especially somebody who's in college, could be duped into this kind of crap real easily.
College is pretty typical, but I have been saying for a long time that the non-thinkers out there are not defending the good or bad of their idea. It's the amount of commitment they've put into their idea, the number of friends that they have that believe in that idea, the investment they've made into the commitment of that idea. That is what is ego crushing. So as a writer, you always write about people who are afraid of having any aspect of their ego torn down. That's their biggest fear. So they fight that. So when you take it from a writer's perspective, you understand that these people are defending the commitment they've made to the idea, not the idea itself.
Yeah.
It's performative. I mean, it's
Correct.
strictly performative. I think a lot of
Right.
people that are engaged in the social justice warrior aspect of our culture right now are also irreligious people. In other words, they aren't really focused on living lives to the benefit of others. Like, I'm a Christian, I go to church, and so I try to give of my time to people who can't give back to me, right? So that's just sort of innate to the way that I have my religion, right? So I serve. And I think that that's something that maybe the irreligious don't have, that focus on a higher being. So the moral good is whatever the culture that's woke says is the moral good. So if this is the current zeitgeist and wokeness, that we're going to go out and we're going to talk about free Palestine, or we're going to go out and do Black Lives Matter, and we're going to kneel when the national anthem comes. It's all performative, just like even people who do have religion. There's a lot that are performative, where it's like, oh, look, I gave this huge sum of money to the church,
or just showing up and all that kind of stuff.
But it comes down to purpose, right? And now these people's purpose is replaced with their identity.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and defense of that.
It's like a replacement of religion or belief. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's instead of actually these things that used to be in our lives that were, I guess we could call quote unquote more healthier versions of these kind of things. Woke has come in and taken it over, because that's the thing, is there's a finite thing in woke, right? Like with at least most religions, you can look at them and say there's aspects of them that are not great, but at least there's things of them that help you live your daily life, that help you get through your daily life. Woke, to me, then going back to my thing about person before and after woke, like that has become the new crack. Like, have you seen somebody who lives there? Like, how can they even be happy? Like that, it has got to take a toll on your life to be constantly policing yourself and everybody around you. Right? Yeah. Like, I just don't understand how you could live that life.
I think some people do it to be, because sometimes it might be a noble cause. My problem, what my biggest problem is with wokeness? It's just bad grammar. Or you're woke. No, I'm awake. There's a difference. I don't know what woke is. I woke up this morning. I mean, what is this wokeness? I don't know. The bad grammar is what triggers me. So I'm easily triggered by bad grammar.
Well, try speaking in pronouns. That's
me.
Bad grammar.
Oh my gosh.
By the way,
worst.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I have lots to say on this. I'll shut up. Keep going.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm just gonna say, I think some of it is also a jealousy of the 60s, when things actually were accomplished for good or for bad. There's not a shit ton left to accomplish. Now, that's a weird thing for me to say, and I'm going to get pilloried for that.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
But
I've said the same kind of point.
I've talked about fighting for gay rights in the 70s, and I got abused for it. I get tired when people tell me that a certain group doesn't have rights, and I ask them, what rights don't you have? And they can't answer.
You're here.
Or they confuse accommodation for rights. And I'm saying, I'm not giving you the accommodations.
That's a good way of putting it, Paul.
You have the right.
I like that.
And we live in amazing times, and a bunch of people have decided that it's worse now than in the 60s. That's what they've decided. They have no proof of that, but that's what they've decided, and they need to have windmills to tilt at.
Yes,
to make them feel that they've accomplished something. I made a joke about 20 years ago where I did a sketch where I was talking about, accomplishing great things. And then I went onto Facebook and actually hit the thumbs up for Rwanda. Whew, I'm done. Oh my God. I cannot tell you the amount of anxiety that lifted from me just that one moment. And I had a whole bunch of people going, hallelujah.
Yeah,
You know, and
that's
they would
sweet
just,
dopamine. Yeah, that's
no,
sweet.
that's
Yeah.
it. Ooh.
That's the pure definition of social justice warrior right there. No, you're 100% right, Paul, and I've made that point before too, and I agree with you. You actually lived through it, right? Like I just know because we were taught these things in school, but like that's where the problem lies is education, right? Because these kids are not being taught any real history now,
No.
or they would know these things. Because you're 100% right.
because
The
of
blood has
changing
been
history.
shed. The fights have been fought. You know, the war may not always be over, but we have reached a place where the playing field had been kind of evened out, right? Like it didn't matter if you were gay, it didn't matter if you were lesbian. You could get married in most places now. You know, a lot of these things had changed. Uh, you know, as far as racism, I wouldn't say it's gone, but it had hit a point where you know, before this, I said this, was it last night? I think on Mead, or yes, the other morning on the morning show. Like I used to go to the doctor and never question the race of my doctor when I would go. Now I'm starting to because of this DEI shit,
Mm.
right? For instance, like it used to be, oh, you get a foreign doctor, no big deal. It'd be like, well, he must be pretty damn good, right? Like, that's the thought you used to have. Now you're going like, wait a minute here. What's this? This guy is not American and he's not white. So do I have to worry about him being a DI hire now?
Do you know what replaced a lot of racism and racist thoughts and things like that in this country? And why you think that way? Do you know what replaced it? Meritocracy.
Yeah.
Meritocracy started to be enforced religiously. You
Well,
you
yeah,
weren't allowed to discriminate. You had to hire the best possible candidate.
Mhm.
And what happened is with this DEI, ESG, and all the other baloney sausage that came along with it, all the neo-Marxism or whatever they're going to call it now, bridge bullshit, it has come, it's removed meritocracy. So now you're thinking, did this person get the job because they're qualified?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm thinking.
And that's a problem because guess what that's going to do? It's going to give them their desired outcome, which is to manufacture racism, or at least something they can point to as racist. And if you are a minority in this country or in any country, and by the way, white people are a minority in other countries, but anyway, if you're a minority in a country, you should be fighting tooth and nail against this because this is the exact opposite way of solving an issue.
But that's the problem. Culture is the advantage is now for the disadvantaged, right? So if you can't win in a meritocracy, which 90% won't get to the top, right? Well, then now the 90% says, oh, good. Now I don't have to excel. I don't have to be someone who can dunk the basketball on the court. I can just be the right culturally significant minority. And now
and that's where the fallacy comes from, right? Is that a lot of these people think that that's the way it's been all this time, is that just because of white privilege, people have been able to do just that, right? They didn't earn it. They didn't actually have to learn their trade. They didn't actually have to get anywhere. And this is where I call bullshit on all this stuff all the time. And, Tiki, I know you're 100% right. A lot of what I was taught in school was bullshit. A lot of what
it's
you know what? It was closer to
winners.
actual real history than what they're learning now. Because I don't even know if they're teaching them history anymore in school. That's the problem.
But whatever history is, I don't think we should destroy it, though. I mean, now you've seen this trend where Confederate statues are being torn down and replaced with.
Right.
I saw something that looked like a butt plug, honestly, that went up a statue. So it's almost like Western culture has just sort of lost its appreciation for beauty. And it's not helped by things like Sports Illustrated featuring overweight models. I mean, why can we not go back to admiring things that merit admiration and hard work and beauty? What's that?
Because you're a dinosaur.
Open the door, get on the floor.
White dinosaur, too, I might add. I'm proud of it.
Everybody walk the dinosaur. Let's get back to these super chats here. We got Bad News Badger sends in 50 Danish krona. Thank you for listening. Says, to me, the difference is this character is important because it is equals woke. This character is important. Oh, and happens to be equals not woke. Yeah, it is very simplistic in that sense. And we've had characters that, and this kind of goes back to what you guys were saying earlier about if we watched Aliens now, would we consider that woke? I don't think so, because it doesn't fall into the categories that cause things to be woke, right? Like
Absolutely.
the character,
Just like Fallout. Fallout, the protagonist, female protagonist, has weaknesses, failures. She learns along the way. There is a sprinkle of wokeness in the show, but our female protagonist is not woke. Now, she might be second season. So who knows, right? And Aliens is a great example, but Aliens 4 is not a great example. I mean,
no,
I mean, these things can all go sideways. It's not always wokeness that destroy these franchises, but
right.
it certainly doesn't help.
Well, and I'll give you a character that they would try to claim is woke now, but I would argue isn't, in Princess Leia, right? Like they would say, oh, she comes in and she's talking shit and smack to Darth Vader, and she's, telling the boys what to do, and she takes over her own rescue mission and all this shit. And it's like, yeah, but she's also an 18-year-old princess who's been living this life, right? You got to understand, she has been living this double life her whole life. This is not new to her. This is an everyday occurrence.
Sure.
Now, Luke, on the other hand, when we meet him, he's like a gee golly shucks kind of person, and all this shit's just hitting him in the face like a dump truck, right? Like, there's the difference. Leia has been raised in this environment her entire life. So for her to sit there and go, fuck you, Darth, ain't nothing new, right? Because her dad has been raising her this way.
She's a freaking princess. But, any wokeness that we might take, like today, if we watch Star Wars for the first time, if it was done modern, but it was scene for scene, like a Psycho remake, Empire Strikes Back, I think, would absolve us from any thoughts about it being woke, because not only do we see Princess Leia in very vulnerable, emotional bits with Han Solo, but we also see Luke failing multiple times throughout the entire picture. And I think that's what sort of makes that original trilogy so great, is that you do see these back and forth progress. And it's not woke. And you've got the little Ewoks, which I think look terrible, helping win at the end. Against the stormtroopers. I mean, it's full of tropes and nothing's perfect, but I wouldn't say Princess Leia was woke, although you could make that mistake from early on.
You could, and that's my point. But I see it as, compared to somebody like Rey. Rey has been living in a desert, having zero training. Sure, she may not know how to put together a few things, but if she's so great at this stuff, why didn't she build a ship and leave? Well, and this whole idea of her wanting to stay for her parents is nonsense and all that. But anyway, we're not going to get down.
Whatever, we can relitigate that.
Samuel Maine is here and sends in $5. Woke is past tense for wake up. What is woke warrior? Well, woke warrior is basically the new version of social justice warrior, I guess.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term. Then we got Pilgrim Media sending in 2 and says, put allegedly after your statements about Disney. True, good point. Packing Proton says, I think KK could be the type that could burn coffee. How did she get involved with Lucas crew to begin with? Doubt she went to film school. I think she was just at the university and she just hung out with those guys. She may have possibly been in the theater department area. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know for sure, but she just happened to know all those guys and be at the right place at the right time. Like, of all those people, like, she is the one person you can point to and say, no talent, just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Seriously. Because that pool of talent is amazing that hung out with that crew. Like, you're talking everybody from De Palma to Scorsese to all those. Coppola. Well, he was kind of like the godfather of the group, basically, but yeah.
No pun intended.
Pun very much intended, yes.
All puns intended. Let's face it. Come on.
DCB Titan says, what KK brought was knee pads and that. Allegedly. Dark Hero Fan says, read outrageous conduct. It's about Twilight Zone movie helicopter incident. KK and Frank supposedly covered up for Spielberg, preventing his involvement. I'm not surprised. Although I don't know how much involvement he would have had with the Landis sequence outside of an executive producer overall. But I don't even think he was anywhere within the vicinity. So
he would have the same kind of responsibility as, let's say, Alec Baldwin does for Rust.
No, you're talking. No. Landis, yes, maybe.
As a producer?
Spielberg, I don't even know if he was there. That's my point. I don't even know if he had anything. Because do you know what? This was like created like 3-4 separate productions put together kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with how the film was put together. All I can say is that if you're an overall executive
But I
producer
will check
on
this out.
anything like that, you are supposedly observing and overseeing the production of anything. So was he a senior executive producer? Was the producer? What level of production is he? I don't know. Do you agree or not? There, Paul, you would know.
I can't comment one way or the other on that.
Yeah, in this case,
Super
I'm not
fun.
going to comment until I actually read into it a bit more. I do know a little bit about it, but I do know it became the ending of their friendship. That's true. Landis was blacklisted for the longest time,
Well,
basically.
for cutting off the head of someone.
Yeah, well, and 2 children. But yeah, the elusive sends in $5. Says, by the way, anyone who says any of us attacks KK so-called producing because she's a woman, I've got 3 words for you. Gail Ann Hurd, you're welcome. Oh yeah, we brought her up before, many others. And Kathleen Kennedy's track record prior to this was fine. But we also are the ones to point out when she's not working with a Steven Spielberg or a Robert Zemeckis, we get crap like Milk Money. Now, does anybody remember that movie? Exactly my point.
No.
A Melanie Griffith film where she plays a prostitute who teaches kids about sex.
That's never been done before.
No. Packing Protons, just wow. Thank you so much for being basically our sponsor today. Sending in another 20. It says
Good
religion and
grief,
woke are
wow.
exactly the same thing, just different sides of the same coin. And one is accepted. Religious people see woke as a threat, a new religion. Therefore, it must be destroyed. Not because it's wrong. I prefer pre-thinking, living your best life, and treating people the way you want to be treated. You don't need religion or woke to do that.
Correct.
I agree with you to a point. I will say I at least from my observation, I've noticed that a lot of the religions have learned that beating somebody over the head is not how you get people to follow you. So I will say that outside of like maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses, they figured that out. But no, I see where you're coming from here, and that could be a point that could be worth discussing. Horseradish Power sends in £2 and says, I prefer the ideological zealot over the woke. Well, there's that
Sometimes
too.
they're the same thing.
Yeah. Dearest sends in 5 and says, godless religion and Marxism is empty calories, fillers in spiritual health, like filler in baby formula, birthday cake, and toxic dyes in food. Yeah, and for some people, I can see this being the case. Yeah. And then we got Horseradish Power says, reminder, DEI didn't earn it. That's right.
I've never heard that. That's great.
And then we got Mukdadder Ali. I am so sorry. Mukdadder. I hope I said that right. Sends in £5 and it's a super sticker. Let me see if we caught what it was. It is a little guy with a purple face saying, wow. Wow. There you
Thanks,
go.
Ali.
Thank you. Then we got Sebastian Skarheim, who sends in 119 Norwegian krona and says, everyone's got their rights these days. But of course, that's not enough for some people. For some people, they demand to control and revise history, free speech, and even what other people think. See, that last part is the part that bothers me more than anything. I mean, of course, the other two do too. But that's what it feels like more than anything, is this pressure for society to force you what to say and think, as opposed to what you actually feel or think. That is the bigger problem. And then we got one more super chat here. And this actually gets us kind of to one of our final topics of the day. I got one other one maybe if we have time. But Action Com says with $5, watch out, Paul. First you wear a silly hat, then the cops let you go on traffic tickets.
Oh.
But the story ends with Alan Richson hunting you down.
Where's the guy with the hat?
But I heard Richson has a problem with police brutality. Of course.
Yes, I heard that too.
I think he enjoys it. Oh wait, sorry.
So that's been kind of a little bit of a debate behind the scenes here and in front of the scenes between the Richson situation. And I've been sparking a little bit of debate with my whole Henry Cavill isn't a movie star statement. So I guess let's meet in the middle here and discuss this a little more, because I think you guys had
some movie star. He's just not an opener.
There's another point to be made.
There's no question. He's a recognizable individual.
But I think Chris and Culture and Paul and I were having a really healthy debate on how much Richson's comments may have actually affected the film overall. and some other stuff on that note. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to wax about that a little more. I've talked about it quite a bit and said my point, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time
I
getting
just
too
had a
deep into mine
Brazilian,
and stuff.
so that's my waxing.
Well, I think so. Let's break down what Richson has done. The first thing he did was he insulted Catholics and Christians who supported Donald Trump, called Donald Trump a rapist. The next thing he did was he said cops are getting away with murder. So then when the order of fraternal police pushed back on that comment, he called himself courageous for being able to call cops out in the face of this sort of pushback. And then in his recent interview with Variety, the subject of James Bond came up, and he said, I think James Bond is a misogynist, and I don't think we need to make Bond movies like that anymore. We need to make James Bond a little more like my character on Reacher. So I know there's a Venn diagram of all those groups with Alan in the middle, but somebody said something like he's alienated half of his fan base for Reacher. And I think he did more than that. I think it was like 75%.
Yeah.
I don't know if that impacted the ticket sales to this Ungentlemanly Warfare film that debuted over the weekend. My contention is it's just a terrible title for a movie.
Well, it's bad news because, he comes out. I don't even want to get into this one. This is enraging for me. Yeah. But the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, has 360,000 members or so, plus their families, plus people who support the police. So you don't think that, several 100,000 tickets didn't get sold to that movie because of his ridiculousness, just on that singular thing alone? This Bond thing, I mean, I'm a huge Bond fan, and sure, him going sideways on this irritates me like to no end. If I had seen this before I went to go see and review this film, I wouldn't have gone to see or review the film.
Well, the people on the right are going to have a problem with the title because it has too many I fucked up the joke. Not
too many words.
Too many words. I was going to say it's when you split up a word into chunks, it's called
syllables.
Syllables.
Too many syllables. I knew where you were going with it.
Damn! I screwed up the joke.
I didn't want to jump in there though.
Thanks.
What's the joke?
The
syllables
joke
thing.
That the title has too many syllables. So,
it was a terrible title. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Okay, but how about like the beginning of the fall or something like that, because I mean
that sounds like a fucking movie starring Brad Pitt taking place in a field.
God, it's not Legends of the Fall.
God, it's just been called Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah,
that's the better title. Yeah. That's the better title.
Right.
Well, I mean, yes, because then it would be in line. It would be in line with Inglourious Bastards, which a lot of people seem to see a lot of that in this film.
And here's where I'll agree with you a little bit more, Culture. I don't think his statements ruin the movie so much because I don't think the general public is as aware of who Alan Ritchson is as we are. And I think the police are more aware of him now than the general public were because of his statements. Because this is the first time you've been hearing about this Bond thing when Chris brought it up. So this is the first I heard about this too. So even me being in this sphere, I hadn't even heard this till today. And this is from the 15th of April. So my point is I wonder if that he had less of an effect on this box office than the damn bad title did. Poor advertising.
Oh, there was zero.
And I'm going to stand by Henry Cavill is not an actor who can open a movie.
Okay.
I just stand by that.
I'm going to look. Henry Cavill has had many average films foisted upon him that could have been spectacular. His Superman could have been tremendous. The problem is he was given not great things to work with, and each one of his successive appearances got more and more garbagey, and he just at the end, I mean, what was it? The last thing he was relegated to was a tiny little bit of a cut scene at the end of a credit or in the middle of a credit for a film everybody knew that he was not going to be in because it wasn't going to be made. Sucked.
mean,
Well, Argyle, they put him out front, even though he wasn't the front character.
Right.
So it was a bait and switch. He's been used in ways that just have diminished his box office potential. So in a lot of ways, Paul's right, but at the same time, there's bigger fish to fry here.
I also argue he's had 20 years now at this point.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
It's had a long time to build. And I think he's not a draw. And to be fair, Man of Steel, you could put anybody there. It was going to do the same numbers, whoever starred as Superman, right? That's the draw.
Well, again, a lot of that comes down to what version of Superman are we telling? I mean, if you lean into the Boy Scout Christopher Reeves thing, you do better. If you even go back
is there a world culture? I will agree with you. There is a world where Henry Cavill is still playing Superman, and he's on his 5th movie right now, and he's actually playing Superman, and he's doing it successfully. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in.
No, I know. I agree with you. I'm just saying is like, but Paul's right now, because of some filmography, he certainly isn't he's not an opener. But we don't have a lot of openers now. Point in Paul, who opens films now?
Wow. Sydney Sweeney.
Timothy Chalamet.
I'd say
Jenna Ortega.
Well, Jenna Ortega, we don't quite know yet.
We don't know yet.
Some more evidence.
I think she is, because I say that last year.
We'll find out.
Tom Cruise is the last movie star, guys. It's mine.
To a point, but look how bad that Last Mission movie did. Though.
Okay, again, and this is where you and I get into a fight every time. Why did that happen?
Wow.
What movie did they have to? They had to push that forward so they could get any IMAX screens. What movie displaced any of the IMAX screens that they were?
I will concede that it had to compete with Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Sound of Freedom.
Yeah,
but I'm just sitting here trying to go like Tom Cruise. I won't see. Here's the thing. Here's why I have a problem when everybody brings up Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is 80 fucking years old.
No,
right? Like that's the problem. Like, okay, get my drift here. The point is
he's a young 80.
He's a movie star from a bygone era that we no longer have anymore, right? He's a leftover.
I look at him like Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah,
like now I know Eastwood is 90 now, so he's not going to be a draw and hasn't been for the last few movies. But Eastwood, a movie star for a long time, a lot of successful films, and goodwill among people on the right and left.
Well, and Will Smith used to be somebody who we used to be able to argue was a movie star until he fucked that up with the slap. Now I would say, big time.
Tom Cruise is 61 for the.
I know. I was being facetious, but my point was is he's from a bygone era, right? Like he's from the 80s. Like even we have a love affair with these old classic stars, and I'm sure a lot of younger people still recognize them because they actually made a bunch of movies that people watched.
Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, and of course they went to see Maverick. I remember going to the theater to see Maverick with my wife. My wife had absolutely no interest in going to see it. She was familiar with Top Gun, but she was like, I don't know. So it wasn't really even Tom Cruise or the franchise or nostalgia for her. But when we left the theater, she absolutely loved it and said, I'm so glad.
Well, it was just happened to be a good movie. That's why. Yeah.
Here's an opener. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu has his ups and downs. Yeah.
No.
See, I call Keanu the comeback kid. See, Keanu has a cycle.
Can he open a movie? Is he a movie star? I would say he is.
Yeah. Depends on the movie.
But that's my point, is that the audience has to logically connect a star to the property. And if that logical connection is there, they can open the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how well Bill and Ted would have done theatrically had it not been COVID. See, that's the thing. You have that in between a lot of his big hits.
But they wouldn't have even have green-lighted it if it hadn't been Keanu, right?
That's very true, too. Well, to a point. I mean, Keanu is, again, another exception who comes from the 80s. See, and that's the thing. People keep dumping back to
a little bit younger.
Listen,
he's not that much younger
these days. Is nothing but remixes and mashups. I mean, there's nothing fresh.
Well, okay, let me just say this. Will Smith was a movie star, right?
Yes, huge.
But the slap, as Tom suggests, may have wrecked that. We're going to know in just a few weeks because that Bad Boys film is going to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll know.
Successful thing.
Yeah. Because I suggest that film is going to perform rather poorly because his squeaky clean image, which he managed to keep in place despite all of this bologna sausage going on behind the scenes with Jada, that brought it all out. That moment revealed him for what he had become. And I think the audience is going to be turned off by that. He was a movie star, and other people like these older stars that Tom was saying are movie stars because they have kept their personal life and personal opinions out of the public eyesight, out of the public knowledge base, zeitgeist, whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
That's a movie star. And that's what the studios used to try to preserve.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess,
and that's why the studio system, the way it used to work.
Here's my point, though, and what Broken Prophet brought right up. Here's the thing. Can we name somebody under 30? Right. And that's where the only people I can gravitate towards right now is they have the potential because they're actually becoming naturally made stars by the audience are Jenna Ortega and Timothée Chalamet. That was the only two. Even Zendaya and Tom Holland, I couldn't even put into that category yet.
No, they're not. No.
Zendaya is well known, right? Like she's like The Rock, right? Like everybody knows who the fucking Rock is.
So
but when was the last Rock movie you went and saw? Okay. Right? Like that's the thing.
He's an ensemble person. He can't open a film. This is why what Paul says is genius. Rock can't open a film.
Well, people don't have the Royal Jelly either anymore. That's the thing what Paul has said many times. And I think that's a big problem because, and this all boils down to, they don't make fucking movies anymore.
Correct.
They just make IP. And God, I just lost it because he just said, oh, Seinfeld. We were just talking about it. He said it the other day. Movies are dead. He's not wrong. They don't make movies like they used to. Like, I want to see his movie because he's in it, right? How many times can I say that in the last few years where I say, I want to go see the new Seinfeld movie, or I want to go see the new Eddie Murphy movie, or I want to go see the insert your person here. You don't have that anymore.
No.
Right?
No. And it's worse than that, and I tell you what, Zendaya will be exposed this weekend.
Oh, I think she was exposed, or did that open this weekend or next? I saw that
this weekend. Yeah, Challengers is going to be out in theaters this weekend. It's a tennis film all about her becoming a tennis coach and getting into a menage a trois with two of the players. I feel for Tom Holland.
I never heard of it.
Believe me, nobody else has either.
It's actually coming to our little local theater of all things. I can't believe it.
So I promised something very special for my review of that film.
That's a good point, though, Culture. That's the barometer. We'll see where Zendaya lies because this is her first time. That's not Spider-Man or Dune.
She's not tall enough to look over the net.
Zendaya?
She's way tall, man.
I don't know.
She's taller than Tom.
Yeah, she's probably way taller than me.
She is taller.
Sydney Sweeney, I think, is
no. Tom Holland. She's taller than Tom Holland, dude.
It's true. You're right. She's kind of modelly tall.
Yeah, she's got a gangly, modelly body.
Yeah, she has a 14-year-old boy body. That's what she's got.
Yes. Yep. And she has somewhere hidden a 14-year-old boy somewhere.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
My, oh my.
Tom Holland's 26, but he may be probably the top under 30 movie star right now.
Yeah.
And the Spider-Man movies obviously did that.
I was going to say the only thing he's got is Spider-Man, though. That's my point. Like, I backed off with Chalamet after
video game movie he made with
Sony one, Uncharted.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. He did Billy Elliot, So
Uncharted did way better because of him.
Yeah, but he didn't open the movie. That did not open well.
No, I don't know who's opening movies. And did Tom Cruise open movies when he was under 30?
Yes.
Risky Business was because of Tom Cruise or because of Bob Seger?
Well, that was one of the movies that created him. After that point, like Top Gun and stuff like that, people were just going to see Tom Cruise movies, right?
Well, my day is complete because I got to insert Bob Seger into this discussion.
Oh, there you go.
Take those old records off the shelf.
Werewolves alone.
That is not Bob Seger culture.
That's not Bob Seger.
I'm going to reach through this and slap you.
The Hollywood Nights. There's so many good Bob Seger songs. You should go see him before he dies.
Sorry,
God, yeah.
I do that all the time. I confuse.
You were
those two
thinking of
guys.
Warren Zevon, yeah.
Yeah.
His only hit.
Hey, come on now.
Well,
It was.
it's true, but Warren Zevon was a musician's musician. See, that's the thing. You gotta.
Yeah.
He's one
So
of those kind of
I'm gonna
guys.
So
go
we
listen to
keep-
some Doobie Brothers after this.
There you go.
I'm going to get killed by the chat, but that's fine. Look, opening weekend for Uncharted was 44 million.
It's good.
That also had Marky Mark in it too, though. Keep that in
It
mind.
did. Yeah. And
Who I also like, but he's not opening
well,
movies anymore.
well, the studio doesn't support those movies anymore.
Well,
See, Arthur the
doing-
King,
yeah.
and he had to he did an article with GQ. He had to create his own production company and start greenlighting his own projects and get funding for those, so he could have any influence in Hollywood anymore.
Mark Wahlberg is one of the, and I'll give him full credit. He's one of the few guys who is still doing original films.
Well, Arthur the King just came out.
Arthur the King, The Family Plan. He did that dog movie, or not dog.
Hey, Father Stew
that's
is a
Arthur the
good
King
movie.
one.
You should watch
And Father Stew. That's the other one. It's a
I
good
heard
one.
It's pretty good.
It is. It's got a little.
There's another one he
tear-jerking
had.
moment. Yeah.
There's another one he had recently. I'm trying to think of too. But either way, I watched The Family Plan. Can't believe Apple didn't put that in theaters. You know, Paul, did you see that movie yet?
Yeah. That should have been in a theater.
We gripe about not enough comedies out there. That movie was hilarious.
Not just a comedy, but a family movie.
Exactly, that too. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I watched, I told you fairly recently, the Super Mario movie, and the first thing that struck me was 100% family. Like, bang, like no doubt. I could take my kids to that and have an enjoyable time. And the Family Plan felt like that, like top to bottom.
And here's where it gets my seal of approval, because I hate road movies. One of the few road movies I actually love, obviously, are just the National Lampoon's Vacation, the first 2, 3, or whatever. Well, the third one, they don't go on a vacation. But other than that, I've never been a big fan. Dumb and Dumber being another exception. Otherwise, not a fan of RV with Robin Williams or any of those other ripoffs. I know you do, and we've talked about it before. This one I actually enjoyed. So that tells you anything.
And the best road movie, apart from Thelma and Louise, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That's another good one too. That's an exception.
David Spade,
and Tommy
and
Boy.
Chris Farley's,
Actually, I take that back. I actually do like.
Did you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I was having a little stroke there. That's a joke, folks. I'm not making fun. But I did you guys say Vacation?
National Lampoon's Vacation? Yeah.
Christmas Vacation is fantastic.
No, but I'm talking about as far as road trip films.
The first two are, yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
the first one is the road trip to Wally Land.
Yeah.
Yep.
They go to Wally World in the first
Wally
one. They go to
World.
Europe in the
Moose
second one.
Outside should have told you.
Yeah, Moose Outside should have told you. The park's closed.
I liked Black Sheep with Farley and Spade. I thought that was great.
That was a little bit of a step back from Tommy
What
Boy.
was
But
the
yeah.
movie with freaking the Trump hating De Niro and it was a comedy, black comedy.
Oh,
It was
hang on.
around-
Midnight Run.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was a fantastic movie.
Well, oh wait, but wasn't that Grolan?
Yeah, it was.
Robert De Niro and Grodin, yeah.
Yes,
And
that's a
the
great
Muppets
one.
Go to Hollywood.
Also good. Yes.
Oh yeah, that is a good one. Yeah,
The
that is a
Muppet
good one.
movie.
The Muppet movie is a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
I take
think
it
that's
back there.
called
The
the
only road movie I don't like is RV. I'm sorry, Paul.
Most
guys
road
ever
movies I actually don't like because it's a lazy premise.
Kind of.
Well, then you're gonna love Deadpool and Wolverine.
I know, right?
Is it a road movie?
It kind of looks like a road trip movie.
I saw a movie recently that I didn't know about on Apple called Still. It's a documentary about Michael J. Fox.
Oh, I've
and-
seen that. It's great. It's amazing.
Oh, man, and it's beautifully uncomfortable to watch him, but he does such a. It's just fantastic. I
yeah.
highly recommend it.
I'm going to
Speaking of
step in
movie
and be.
stars.
I'm going to. Sorry about this, Chris. I'm going to step in and be a producer for a moment. We got a few more super chats.
We
need to
do.
get
We
to.
do.
And a
We're
quick
gonna be losing-
reminder. And a quick reminder to those of you who are out there in the chat, you can actually thumbs up those super chats. It increases engagement. So
Yeah.
please do that. It helps the channel. Thank you for that.
Come on, Paul.
And then Packing Proton says, hope my last chat didn't come off rude. Oh, no, not at all. I get tired of people say, if you don't have God, you turn too woke. I stopped believing in tall tales long ago, and I turned out fine. Well, I'm just to each his own type of person. That's
I
all.
resemble that. I love God.
Yeah, but we were talking about purpose more so than even a higher being.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
And then Bucky Cat sends in a member milestone for 13 months. Thank you, Bucky Cat. Dearest says the environment of Hollywood for the past 15 to 20 years changed. Cavill's whole generation of actors are being fucked over by it. That's a good point too, Dearest. Like I will concede on culture's behalf at least, because this is the thing. I don't dislike Cavill. In fact, I'm hyped for him being in Highlander. I do like him as an actor. I'm just making the simple point, like I have about The Rock in the past, is like The Rock is not the movie star everybody thinks he is. Henry Cavill, I don't think can open a movie, and I don't think he's a movie star. But at the same time, is it his fault? No, because we've reached and that was the point I was making. We've reached this place where we don't make fucking movies anymore, right? And I've made that point. In 1988, there was a ton of great movies like Die Hard and all this other stuff that came out, but the number one movie was Rain Man. Could you imagine if they tried to make Rain Man now? They wouldn't. It would just be on streaming with some no blow Joes in it, and it wouldn't be what it was then.
Yeah,
right? They
Chris
don't make those
Moore
kind of
would have
movies
taken
anymore.
The Dustin Hoffman role.
Can you, Tom, in because of Cavill mentioned again, can you and Andre do a little research, or maybe even Mr. Chris down here with his lovely publication, do a little research and find out if there's truth to the rumor that Cavill may walk from 40K?
So far, all
check
I know
into
is
it.
the rumor.
Okay.
Yeah, but
because I haven't been able to find any of that, and I don't have anybody I can ask, so I was just curious.
And sometimes I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, isn't he the game stuff? I don't know how much that affects the actual entertainment side of.
Well, the word is that it's Amazon themselves who inserted this email custodes.
Oh,
which is why the CFO, the chief financial officer of Games Workshop, sold all of her crap and is leaving.
Because
she was already going to be leaving.
Okay, it's according from when? From what point was that made public?
December.
Oh, so okay, all right. So it's still far enough, or not that far removed.
She divested herself from the.
No, she divested herself on the 14th or 15th. I can't remember specifically, but
yeah, but the divestment happened recently. But she was gone in December, at least, or announced her.
I mean, if I knew that the company that I was associated with was about to tank, I would divest myself of the stocks also.
Yeah.
Now, if that gets me in trouble with
I was going to say, isn't that insider kind of trading or some sort? But
it is kind of.
Yeah. I'm selling all my stock in BleedingFool right now. Sorry, guys.
Oops. Bucky Cat says social media killed the movie star. Kind of did. Did. More so just, I think, Hollywood buying or basically selling its soul to the comic book devil. That's what killed the movies. As much as we love comic books, and it's not our fault, it's not comic book movies' fault, it's the fact that producers and studios decided we have the most surefire thing in history and we're going to milk it. And then they decided to change it. See, that's the thing is woke when, because I've said this before too. They could have rode this pony till that fucker died, right? Yeah. And that would have been another 20, 25 years, maybe even. We don't know. As long as they kept making superhero movies on the degree they were when the MCU was at its height, they could have kept this thing going. But I kind of try to remind people, remember before the MCU, most comic book movies, like 9 out of 10 were shit.
Yep. Virgin's Law.
Yeah, for every one Blade we got 10 or 11 Spawns and shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You'd occasionally get the Crow or something. I think that it's the point I think Bucky here is trying to make, though, is that social media allows the film star to go ahead and just sound off on something and show how stupid and vapid they are, right? And whether that means, hey, all my children are trans, I support the current thing. I think that back in the day, people, at least you had a buffer. The agent would set up the interview, then the interview would go out and you would go out to a very curated round of press and talk shows, right? You could still say something stupid, but you wouldn't just be on social media mouthing off like Donald Trump or something right and left. And it also shows how social media is pretty vapid.
It is, and we've always had it to where, look, it's not the first time or place or whatever you want to call it, where a celebrity has shown their ass. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not anything new, but it's in mass quantity, I guess is a better way of putting it. Like on a daily basis. Like we
I
wouldn't
mean,
be
there
seeing
are celebrities
Meltdown.
I would like some like Crispin Glover. I would love to read Crispin Glover's social media. I don't think it exists, right?
I was gonna say I don't think he's smart enough not to be on one probably.
He's savvy, yeah. But he's also
Savvy enough,
yeah, right.
but like now I was just gonna say, like, we wouldn't be seeing like the meltdown we're seeing right now of like Britney Spears if it wasn't for social media. That's like the other end of
That's
it,
a whole
right?
Well, why
that's
is
the
she
Mickey Mouse
posting?
Club.
Because she's just, I have no idea.
That's the Mickey Mouse Club.
Well,
I wish I knew.
The conservatorship kind of didn't exist anymore, and she was married for about 3 minutes, and
She clearly needed it, it looks like.
well,
More people are starting to think that, yeah.
Yeah, what she did also need at the same time was somebody to have listened to whatever trauma was in her past, because
Concur.
you don't go that far off out,
the
that
rails or
far,
whatever,
yeah,
yeah.
off the rails, yeah.
Well, have you guys watched that docu-series, Quiet on Set?
No, but I know I can guarantee you I know most of those stories already. But yeah,
I'm
heard.
sure they all apply to Britney.
Well, she was on the Disney side of things, but her sister was part of the Nickelodeon thing from my memory. But I wouldn't be surprised if Disney's twice as bad,
Oh my gosh.
to
Yeah.
be honest with you.
Well, it touches on that in the docu-series that they've hired people who were convicted of child abuse after it came out that they had been convicted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the sad part about this whole thing is this has been something that most of us have known about for a while.
Corey
But I mean, Bill
Feldman,
Maher
Yep.
finally said, something about it too, but it's long overdue. But anyway, ActionCom says, Paul, would a military show like Combat, Rat Patrol, or Tour of Duty do well in this day and age?
Wow, no,
If you call it Call of Duty, yes.
no. Because all those shows were heroic. They, they overplayed America's contribution to, the war. A lot of Americans think that, and I don't mean to say this in a nasty way, that they won World War II on their own.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's a lot to do with, the John Wayne films and things like that, and just the brilliance of America.
You mean we didn't?
No.
Wait a
So-
minute.
So
So
the thing is, those movies, those TV shows just fit. Also it fit the memory of people who were still alive during those wars. Now there's nobody around, right? I mean, there's it's one of the problems with Europe. European filmmakers are criticized for saying, "Look, World War II and World War I was a long time ago. Stop making films about them." Like nobody remembers them anymore. But because that stuff happened on European soil, there's still a lot of institutional memory as to just what those wars did to the continent.
yeah, but I mean, recently, obviously, Churchill's diaries and everything else have just become finally made publicly
Right.
available, which is how we ended up with Operation Postmaster, which was the thing that the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was based on.
Right.
So, Churchill called out the desperation of the situation in those diaries, and that if had the Americans, not entered the war after this operation, they would have been speaking German.
Oh, listen, nobody doubts that Britain and whatever was left in Europe, they were a spent force.
Yeah.
No one's saying that.
No, I didn't think so.
What America did at the last moment was absolutely crucial to, finally winning it. That I'm
Right.
not disparaging.
I will say one thing though, Tour of Duty you might be able to make today because it was a Vietnam set story. And of course, if you have any story where America could possibly be put in a light in a negative way, they would do that. I don't know, some people are bringing up like Band of Brothers, but wasn't Band of Brothers like 20 years ago?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking too about in the realm of comics. There's a reason why DC Comics has not collected all their GI combats into a big fat omnibus. I just don't know that there's an audience there. Marvel Comics had a really great Vietnam series that I think went like 60 or 70 issues called The Nom. I recently read a few issues as part of a comic book club recently. It's great material, but they haven't collected it in any sort of a hardcover edition. There's just, I don't know if it's the fact that everybody knows most of it was propaganda, like what Paul said, or maybe it's just there's no audience.
Yeah, and speaking of Paul, we're going to be losing him shortly here, so let me double check to make sure there isn't. There's this one here for sure. STR Red Wolf with $5 says, "Hey Paul, how about train-based travel stories? If so, I have a book for you I wrote."
Train-based travel, like Orient Express, Murder on the Orient Express.
Why not?
And then there's
Bullet
the
Train.
Korean film, Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer. That's right. No, I'm not a big fan of stories on trains.
What about? Are you interested in a film called Snakes on a Train?
Snakes on a Train sounds just brilliant.
Yes.
Bullet Train wasn't bad. If you
Bullet
don't
Train
get it
was
wrong.
good.
Well,
I loved
and one of
Bullet
the
Train.
best train movies of all time, The General.
Oh, nice.
And here's one I think that's aimed towards you. ActionCom says MASH 11-year program about a 3-year combat.
Yes.
It was a 5-year program about Americans 335 days in Europe. How long would Afghan-Iraq series last?
I don't know. I don't.
That's,
I don't.
you know,
I don't,
like
I don't.
we haven't had a
roman-
lot of stuff in that era, have we?
And
Sorry.
nobody romanticizes it, Tom. That's why.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, there's a few of those movies, but not many. Yeah.
Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
I was just going to say Hurt Locker.
But that's about a particular engagement. This is it's unsexy because of so many lies that were told by the government to get people into it that have been exposed and everything else. I mean, people are not super excited about films that, you know, are based on, you know, faulty issues.
Yeah.
Gulf of Tonkin, the movie.
Yeah. So unless Paul can hang out for a few more super chats, we'll let him go.
Well, I mean, if I need to for a couple of super chats, I'll.
Well, I think we got it all yours here. So if you have to run, I'm giving you your out now.
Yeah, I do have a company to run and employees to whip.
Well, I just want to say
there's a way.
You're in North Korea, right, Paul?
Pardon me?
You're in North Korea. Is that right?
Yes.
You run an animation.
He has an animation studio there. Yeah.
I didn't want to reveal it, but my entire programming team is from North
Allegedly.
Korea.
Got it.
Maybe we've outsourced some work. Yeah, we outsourced. I just want to say, Paul, I love your company, Apple. I think your company's doing well.
Yes, I'm hoping for, you know, much bigger things, and I think that stupid goggle thing is going to be huge.
When?
Huge. Let me
Especially
tell
since
you.
you called it stupid. I'm sure.
When?
I'm not saying when.
To me, it's already huge. I can't imagine wearing them.
Yeah, how much bigger it needs to be.
Yeah,
right.
Well, check out Appalling News, of course, and Call Me Chato.
Yes,
and anything else you want to plug?
Paul's been killing it. The only thing he hasn't been killing is the TV guide that Tom's been asking for months now.
So why did you bring it up? Culture.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my friend. I apologize.
I will see you all. Nice to see you again, Chris.
Hey,
you're a charming individual.
Likewise.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, sir.
Take care, Paul. All right. Oh, we got one more. Tennille says, Paul, use the spike one. That'll teach him.
I'm sure he'll watch the replay. I know he does.
And then let's get back into the super chats here. We got Hi Dragon Star, who sends in 5, says Hollywood is becoming franchises. There's no originality anymore, which is why anime and foreign films are doing better in American markets.
Totally.
I mean, yeah, there could be an argument made for this. But I would just love to have some original Western entertainment again. Be nice.
God, yeah.
If I can just get somebody to write me a giant check, I could make my Western. And
well, I just meant Western as in culture, but yes, a Western would be nice.
Yeah, I agree with Packing here about Robert Downey Jr. is probably a great classic movie star. He's really done well.
Packing Protons.
He could repair what's wrong with Marvel if he would come back and say, "No woke, let's do what worked." That would help.
Packing Protons sends in 5. and says, wasn't the Marvel cast the last of the classic movie star? Most still seem likable, Ruffalo not included. Are they though? I mean, outside of like Robert Downey Jr., like Chris just brought up.
I think that even ScarJo stepped on it recently, and
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
like that's my
so,
point. Like, yeah.
I mean, I
Chris
got run
is
over
showing
by
off his pecker and shit. And
yeah, and I got run over by a snowplow guy is probably still likable.
Jeremy Renner.
likable enough, yeah.
He is, yeah.
He's the only one who's really working steadily too. That's the funny.
Yeah.
Chris
Oh yeah,
Evans
that show.
is
I mean, he walked back on that set not long ago, and that was good news.
I got to get caught up on that one.
So, after almost being dead. Dead's not fun, guys. You know, coming back from dead.
Kingsville, what's it? Kingston?
Mayor Kingstown.
Yeah.
You know, it's even more funny, or not funny, but it's even more noble because he sacrificed himself to save what was his nephew.
Yeah, one of his family members, I think.
Yeah,
I thought it was somebody, just a neighbor. I didn't know it was.
I thought it was his nephew, but yeah.
Well, I think he was trying to rescue a neighbor, and then the snow skid didn't, lock in place and started to move.
Yeah,
and he pulled a superhero move and got caught up underneath it, pushing his nephew or something like that out of the way. From what I remember, the story went.
Yep.
But no, Ruffalo.
Oh gosh,
he's rough.
Ruffalo, yeah. We do not claim him, even though he's from Wisconsin.
GraphWeb canceled their subscription to Disney Plus so they could donate $2 to the super chat. I think that's what
he does.
GraphWeb is the most consistent person on YouTube.
Far more entertaining than Disney Plus. This right here.
Oh, true.
So yes, do what GraphWeb says and hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Red Pilled Rant sends in $1.99, says Freddie got fingered. Now that's a road movie. I know, like I thought about it after I said it. I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, the only road movie I don't like is that one, the RV one with Robin Williams. Yeah, for some reason I just never cared.
Would you guys consider Chef, that Jon Favreau movie from 2014, to be a road movie?
Kind of. I see where you're coming from on it.
Pretty good. I liked it.
I never did catch up with that series, but then somebody told me it wasn't an actual follow-up series. It was just like an actual competition.
Shut your mouth. Oh wait, wrong Shaft.
Yep.
That's Shaft, not Chef.
That's Shaft.
And that's the chef from South Park.
Oh, Chef.
Hey, everybody, have you seen my balls? Big and salty and brown.
Yeah, I've got a thick Southern accent culture. Sorry. Chef.
Quit picking on him. Tennille sends in a $10 super chat. Thank you. And I believe this is also your 10th super chat.
It's always permanently Tennille's 10th super chat.
Why is it always permanently?
Because YouTube is still broken. So
this is like your 10th plus super chat.
Yes.
Yes.
10 plus.
Yeah. I thought it meant just in the show. I was like, boy, I didn't remember him doing 10 in the show, but maybe he did.
Yeah, it's broken.
I'm trying to pay attention.
Okay.
Why are you making me feel bad? Fun fact is Tom and Culture know my folks are both in the industry. Yep. I say that to explain how I know the KK's name is used as shorthand verb, missing the forest for the trees.
The trees. This is true.
Yeah. So this is even beyond the woke aspect, I'm imagining, is what he means here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of knew that. That was kind of what we were getting at before. She's like one of the most untalented hacks in Hollywood that literally just rode the train of much, much, much more successful men. In fact, arguably the most successful director of ever, all time, hands down, and stop. So, like, I mean, how much more can you get, like, as far as like easy? Like, she's got fucking George Lucas white privilege going on, or Steven Spielberg white privilege, I should say, more so.
Yeah, she's got privilege.
Yeah, and up till she stopped working with those guys, she had one of the most successful careers as far as producers go.
Way to go, on ET, Kathleen. Way to go.
Yeah, way to go. Well, yeah, the one thing, her claim to fame on ET, you know what she did on ET? She yelled at Steven for being too hard on the crew.
Yeah. Hero.
She's a hero. A hero.
Ally.
A hero. It's a hero's journey. You're being a bad man. Okay, sorry.
I mean, motherfucker's making the most successful movie of all time. Yeah, that's a good job.
Yeah, good job yelling at him. That's great. Thank you.
Well, he was dumb enough to remove the guns and then realize, oh, that was dumb.
Well, at least he was smart enough to put him back, unlike
George. He did put him back. Yeah, put the gun back, Steven.
Yeah, and then quickly.
And by the way, From my recollection, there's still radios in the attraction in Universal. I don't think they made that change.
They didn't change that. Well,
I
and
think
this
the
is the thing.
attraction in Florida still has the
They
radio.
should have done a better job, or he should have done a better job of letting people know. Because, like I said, they've released the movie quite a few times since then, and it's only been in that incarnation once on disc.
Yeah.
Like every version that's been released since is the theatrical cut. And I've heard a lot of people refuse to buy it because they think it's the altered version. I'm like, no, it's not. In fact, when he released that version, they removed a documentary off the second disc because he insisted the theatrical cut be put back on. Like
they need to put that on the cover of the Blu-ray. Then
it should be on there. He insisted the theatrical cut be in here. Yeah. No, I know, but yeah, no, most people don't realize it. I try to remind them, like, no, it's safe to buy now. It's safe. You can buy it.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube though with people. It's kind of like when somebody does something that is seen as a betrayal, that's their new dog tag. That's the new sign they wear.
Well, you know what, Chris, is funny is I say that reason is why that movie didn't have the longevity it did, because that movie lasted for over 20 years up until that point, or 20 years at that point. That's when he did that. And then from that moment on, that movie has fallen off the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And I think that is the main reason why. And I think if it wasn't for the prequels, the same thing kind of could have happened to Star Wars. If it wasn't for the prequels making them successful at the time and all that kind of stuff, people kind of just forgot about the special editions till later. And they're like, hey, are you ever going to release the other versions? He's like, yeah. No.
Go to Handy's despecialized version for the original
trilogy. Or they got the 4K scans out now. That
they did do the 4Ks.
Looks good.
God bless the fans.
Yeah. And that's the only way that these things would exist if it weren't for us being manipulative and underhanded.
And the fans are what's saving it.
Yeah.
I see some fans also scanned T2. I don't know if there's a 4K version out there of it, but it's got the original color timing on it too.
Nice.
Looks good.
It looks pretty good. Horseradish Power sends in 5 and says GW didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They aimed a Gatling gun at both legs, and this is their biggest disaster yet. 3D printer needs a rest. Too much
burr. 3D printer go burr.
Yeah, that's Nate's.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. Speaking of Nate, we've got Alan Octavian Moldovin who says culture. Mr. H has a video on Cavill threatening of leaving is a leak on 4chan. I think like those that gave us the leaks on Star Wars Last Jedi, etc. So there could be some truth to it, maybe.
Ooh, you know, Nate doesn't run with stuff unless he feels like there's other things to support it. So, yeah, look. If this is actually something that he's considering, I wouldn't blame him. Look, he's been stepped on way too many times in the by the entertainment industry. I mean, just look at what happened in The Witcher.
Yeah,
right?
Good example.
Yeah, and as Pilgrim Media points out, allegedly, these corporate assholes are litigious. Yes, they are.
Yeah, allegedly.
They're going to be getting learn what litigious means by all these stockholders and stuff that are coming after them, right? Culture.
Yes. Yeah. Look, those. Do you know how much the value of those stocks are? It's like bonkers.
And I'm sorry, the excuse of we were trying to do the right thing is not going to be enough.
Do the right thing. Do the right.
Do
thing.
better. That's where we get to tell them to do better.
Do better, Senator.
Yeah. Tennille sends in another deuce and says, I don't know. Sydney Sweeney showing your ass sounds fun. I agree. That's an asset of hers that I think that is overlooked. And then Tennille says, spiky. I don't know what for, but
that was the implement with which to apply pain.
Oh, okay. There you go. Gotcha. Maverick Christian sends in 5 and says, I like Alan Richson and says a fellow Christian. And I think we should be tolerant of those holding optimal beliefs. Still voicing them was bad business. Well, and you know, Maverick, it's like he doesn't know how to read a room. Like, I get who is he trying to gain brownie points with here? Because if this is the case, I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I'm not arguing your point at all. I'm just saying
his constituency in that representation that he made wasn't based on. It can't possibly have been based on his belief system. he was speaking his constituency in those matters. He was only speaking to the Los Angeles area. These virtue signals are only directed at a 30 block radius in California, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a
and that's what I'm
couple of,
saying is he's sacrificing this huge audience for just to please those few people in Hollywood is what I see too.
I don't think, if I could just speak from a Christian standpoint
Yeah.
on this, I think that calling somebody out is the Christian way, not being tolerant, especially someone who's doing wrong. If your children are playing in a busy street, you yell at them and say, get out of the street. Loving them is not tolerating their decision to make a bad decision. I think that what Alan's doing is just bad business, and he's not drawing anyone towards his Christian faith by telling them that you're supporting a rapist for president. That's not he's obviously, there was no rape, was never proven. It was alleged. A kangaroo court made him liable for defaming the woman who accused him of raping her. That doesn't make Trump a rapist. So he's calling someone a rapist without proof. He's saying that he's belittling any Christian or Catholic that supports that man for president. So he's not demonstrating Christian faith, Christian charity. And then he's talking bad about other fan favorite things such as the police. That's law and order. If you're a Christian, you're all about the law. Why is he out here insulting police and their families and their supporters? And then he goes after James Bond, which I did share a fun little video montage of Sean Connery slapping women in James Bond movies. So he may have a little bit of a point there, but I don't think that being a Christian means being tolerant of everyone voicing themselves.
Yeah, and I would have played that clip, but I know Amazon would probably nail us. Speaking of nailing, though, at the same time, like those movies come from a completely different time period too, right? Like, and that all led up to that famous interview with Sean Connery and what's her face? Help me out here, culture. Barbara
Walters, yeah.
Yeah, where basically she calls him out for that shit, and he's like, once in a while, you need to schmuck a bitch.
But the Daniel Craig era wasn't filled with misogyny, and you've got these trigger warning readers now, sensitivity readers, making the publisher edit all the Ian Fleming books. I mean, come on, where does it end? Where does it end?
The difference is we already knew growing up, like, yeah, that was not how things were for the most, like, unless you were raised in a real shitty environment, right? Like, I mean,
right.
Hey,
he reminds me of my dad slapping mom around.
Yeah, that's a little different. Like, yeah, then you need to get some help, maybe. Yeah. That's that. But most normal, average people realize that at that point, yeah, that wasn't the normal thing for a guy to just smack a woman around.
I mean, but we also watched the Three Stooges, and I didn't go around randomly slapping my friends and poking them in the eyes. Come on.
Yeah. Well, we did have Paulie in the back here, but I think he just disappeared. I know he's got a show coming up after this one. So if the mods want to share that link, that'd be great. And before we do get back into this other stuff, while we're on the subject of you, Chris, you've got something you're working on. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh,
before
yeah.
We show this trailer quick?
In addition to Bleeding Fool, in my other publishing efforts, I'm publishing a new Nexus project from Mike Barron. Mike Barron is the Eisner-winning writer. Most people probably know him from The Punisher or The Flash when he worked for the Big Two, but he created Nexus back in 1981, and he's bringing him back. He's a sci-fi futuristic vigilante about 500 years in the future, and the artwork is by the great Kelsey Shannon, who did work on Batman the Animated Series, and I'm trying to remember the cartoon that he did some work for, Jimmy Neutron. It's just beautiful. It's a fun story. There's actually, it seems pretty serious, and it is this unspeakable, eons old evil that's destroying worlds, planets. But there's actually a little bit of whimsy in this thing too, thank goodness. So you can come up for air. But yeah, we're crowdfunding it across 3 platforms: Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, and Kickstarter. We've raised we're getting close to 40,000 on this. And if we hit that, we're going to be giving all backers a digital preview of the next Nexus story, which is Nexus Triplets. And we've actually got something really big that we want to do. The original 3 issues of Nexus was released on Capital Comics in a black and white. You remember the old Savage Sword of Conan magazines?
Oh yeah, of course.
So they were black and white. They were the same size. And so Kelsey, who did all the artwork on this, is going back and coloring those 3 black and white issues, but he's doing it the color of the era, and that's going to be remastered and released in a large hardcover. We'll do that probably later this summer if we do well enough on this campaign. Also, you remember books that would have a flexi disc in them, you know, like a record you could tear out, put a meaning on it and play it. There was a flexi disc in issue 3 of this, and now we've got that original disc and have remastered it, and we're going to release it as one of the
oh wow, that's neat. That's cool.
Very
I remember those on like cereal boxes.
Yes,
I don't remember if I ever got one out of a magazine or I think I got them out of magazines, but I don't ever remember getting one out of a comic book before. That's neat.
There may have been 1 or 2. I need to. You've just.
I'm sure there have.
To do some research for that. Yeah, I need to do that. But yeah, we desecrated one of the original mint condition editions of that comic, and it's got I mean, guys like Chris Claremont and even Tom Brevoort and other big names in comics are huge fans of Nexus, and you can find it at baroncomics.com and pick your platform. You can check out a cool little trailer we've got on there. It's
we're about to show that, but I just want to say hello to Paulie real quick. Hello, Paulie. Are you there?
I'm here. I didn't know I was going to be on.
Oh, okay. Well, you can just hang out in the back if you want.
Yeah, I was going to hang out in the back, just posting links, whatever you need. But hey, everyone, what's going on?
You got a show coming up in a bit here, don't you?
Yes. I mean, like I only have like bad lights on. What's up, everybody?
Oh man, love the hat, dude.
Well, then I mean, just based on hats alone, come on over to the Slant. Pleasure to meet you. Yeah, Fletcher and Pablo, as you know, they go Espanol, bilingual. Midnight's Edge, they bring their opinions hard. They're gonna go over that J-Lo trailer. There's rumors about Games of Thrones spinoffs, all kinds of stuff, guys. And if you get on over there and hit that raid, they'll even make it a little more bilingual friendly, a little more English friendly for you guys. So yeah, but I'll be hanging out. I'm loving the discussion today, guys. Good stuff. I've been here listening since the morning since you guys started. Everyone's been great except for Culture Casino, of course, but everyone else has been fantastic.
It's on brand.
These are his friends.
Yep.
Well, all right, let's check out this trailer you got here. This is the cinematic trailer for Nexus Scourge.
An ancient evil, billions of years old, wages war on the universe. Entire star systems are vanishing without a trace, leaving devastation in their wake. Nexus, the intergalactic guardian of lost souls, must stop the unnameable terror and its expanding scourge of destruction. The totality of everything in existence will collapse upon itself if he fails. With the fate of the cosmos in the balance, Nexus must confront his most dangerous adversary yet. Can he save creation from total and certain destruction, or will darkness reign supreme? Find out in Nexus Scourge, the all-new epic sci-fi adventure from Eisner-winning co-creator Mike Baron, exploding with Kelsey Shannon's dynamic artwork. Available now at baroncomics.com.
Awesome. Check it out, guys. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Had a good time on today's discussion. This was sort of a I got to slide in here. I was thankful that I could. I like hanging out with you guys.
Awesome. Yes, and then we got a few more super chats, and we're gonna get out of here. Neil sends in, aka Dislikes Puns, sends in $2. Says Tom Ruffalo not claimed like Jeffrey Dahmer. Exactly. But here's one thing I always say about it when people give us shit in Wisconsin is like, well, what is it, Wisconsin? You had like Jeffrey Dahmer, and you had what's his face? I forgot his name. The guy that Psycho and stuff is based on. Ed Gein and all that stuff. I'm like, we caught ours. What's y'all's excuse? Yeah, we do have 2 of the most prolific ever. We caught them. Like, I'm sure there's tons of other ones out there that y'all never caught.
There's a few in New York that still remain at large.
Exactly. Yeah, like, and then they never caught what's his face either. The one out in California, the Zodiac.
They're just smarter out there. They're smarter.
Yeah, so.
Well, if we can, if we're going for a Latino representation, we got was it the Stalker?
Yeah, the Night Stalker they did get or whatever it was, Rodriguez. Yeah,
but he's gonna be in that new Maxine movie.
which looks great, by the way.
I know. That was like, whoa, they're gonna bring Rodriguez in there because he had a whole bunch of scary witches and stuff visiting his trial, and when he even got married. So I think
Ooh.
also too, the correct me if I'm wrong there, but you saw some of the Hotel Cecil in the trailer.
I think
So
you're right.
they're gonna be at Hotel Cecil, and look up Hotel Cecil. Man, that's like a true crime hotel.
Oh, I hope they do it justice.
Yeah. And then here's Tennille sending in some love to Culture. Says, thank you, Culture.
You betcha. And speaking of Ramirez, real quick, thank you, Tino. Speaking of Ramirez, real quick, they actually featured him prominently in one of the episodes of American Horror Story, one with Lady Gaga that year, Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that one was amazing. Whoever the actor was did a great job, and well, a little bit of our history.
Tennille says the not claimed joke was in reference to Ruffalo. Oh, we know.
Oh,
yeah, we knew that.
Hey, work is work, Culture. We'll take it.
and Ruffalo is like doing an Alan Richson. I mean, if he could have just kept his mouth shut, he would have had so much goodwill.
Oh,
or
yeah.
even the actresses that have been playing the Yolanda Saldivar and all the Selena iterations. Yeah, I know the last actress that played her. I mean, it was a great role, man. But she couldn't even. She had to go radio silent because she was getting so much hate. It's like,
wow.
She is just an actor, right? You guys know that.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
Yeah,
Hi, Dragon Star sends in our last super chat of the day. Bond is different in every era. It's like a trans gamers complaining about Stardew Valley's lack of pronouns. It's an 8-year-old game. Yeah, and I understand it. And I'm not even somebody who's seen all the Bond movies, and I know that every so many years they kind of reinvigorate it with the more modernisms and stuff like that. But,
yeah, I think
watch them all. Go back, Tom. Take the time.
I know.
Ministry was like, Bond origin. There's like the titles alone, like Operation Her Majesty's Secret Service, something other than what that title.
Postmaster.
Man, yeah.
They
could have done something. Yeah.
Title was horrible, man.
They didn't really play up the Ian Fleming angle, I think, like they should have.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh,
no.
Ian Fleming's in it. I mean,
yeah, he is. It's good.
All over. It's
been spoiled for me, but I don't think they played it up in the marketing enough.
No, you're so right.
No, and I see where Paulie's coming from. If you didn't go with like Ungentlemanly Warfare as the title, you should have went something more Bond-esque.
Or like
that kind of,
or like Dirty Dozen.
Oh, and
right?
Yeah.
That's really what it was. It was like it's a rag team of undesirables that are just like their own little characters. That's so much going on. It's like I'm just bummed out that it's not doing well because it's a really good film.
Yeah, Tennille also points out, and I believe this is true with $5. As I recall, they actually caught the Night Stalker in no small part due to him being weapon grade smelly. Yes, one of his would-be victims, I believe, that was one of the things she had said was that he had such a horrid smell about him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he got caught in East LA, right? The homies were
believe so.
They were beating the shit out of him. That's pretty infamous. How they just ran him down and caught him.
And with that, let's go around the board here. Culture, you got a channel.
I do. Yeah, I dropped a bunch of videos. I really had a good time doing it the last few days. There isn't a video out yet today. I'm about to go on a recording session with a bunch of other creators to get some videos out there. Maybe I'll get one out later today, but I'm more leaning into the review that I'll be releasing tomorrow after I see the amazing film with Zendaya in it, Challengers.
Ooh, my. All right, we look forward to that. Chris, I want to thank.
Real quick, Pop Culture Crisis is actually when you get a chance later today after you go check out Paulie's show. But you do check out, they are actually covering the rumor around Cavill walking away from 40K. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. So, but do go right over there and hang out.
That may be something we'll discuss more in the future, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
And Chris,
I hope it is that he does. I think that, just to do a quick call back to Tom Cruise, I think it was Tom Cruise who insisted that that Paramount put the Taiwan and Japanese patches back on his bomber jacket. As you recall, in an early trailer, they had removed that to appease China off his bomber jacket for Maverick trailers. And I think that it was Cruise who instigated.
I think
getting
he
that
did,
back.
but I think it also had something to do with the fact that they had lost their China deal.
Maybe. What I'm getting at, though, is that
Paramount
would do
did.
so much goodwill for Henry Cavill if he does say, hey, look, I'm out.
Oh, yeah. In the fans' eyes.
He's
Absolutely.
he's had bad luck. It's actually really good. He's actually a really good movie star. He's very appealing. They've used him and abused him.
Yeah, that's what
But
Tom was saying.
you know, he's a handsome man. He's gonna be around for a while. He's also gonna probably age very well.
Mm.
So yeah,
He could have been the next Bond. I would have been fine with it.
Well, he was really young when it was between him and Craig, right?
Yep.
He
Yeah,
was
but-
Should
pretty
have
young
been
and
probably.
really unknown. I would have gone that route. You know, the trajectory would, I mean, definitely changed. What he did, the Tudors, it's Man of Steel, The Witcher.
Well, I mean, he's a really big. You said it best, Paulie, and that's kind of what I conceded the other morning and last night. Is that he's a television star, right? He can successfully have a show. He has enough of a following in that respect, but they're not following into the theater yet. Maybe they will for Highlander. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe that's the secret sauce that he needs. Maybe that's the role that the women and the men will go, that's what I want to see him in. Because as I pointed out, everybody said, yeah, I want to see him as Bond. I want to see him as Bond. But we've also seen him in no less than three roles now that are basically Bond-esque.
Yeah.
And nobody went to see him. See, that's the problem he has. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could have even had a shot of him with some carabines and a big gun with no shirt on, just smoking Nazis. The women would have went nuts. The boys yoked. So they did it in Witcher, and the chicks went to see Witcher. I don't know why they didn't put that in there. You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
Why are they afraid of his masculinity? Well,
wow.
Whoever's running the ad campaign, then we probably know why. But you know, that's your biggest asset, not this Richardson guy. You know, he's a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, he was good in his role. I just don't know when he was doing his interviews really fast with Richardson. Was he off his meds because he is clinically bipolar? No,
there's somebody that also said he was exhibiting a lot of roid rage too. That I know.
He's clinically bipolar, and he, you know, if he did all those interviews in one day, which what happens, guys? You do your press junket, press day, all in one day, right? He could have been off some because I'm like, what the heck is all this? This is just awful.
Yeah, it was
like
terrible,
awful, and there's no record of that over the last 10 years. You know, like. You know, he's Christian. He does this, does that. He seems like a nice, goofy guy. But then this.
Well, the girls did dig up some weird stuff from his past when we were talking about it on Toxic Femme, but it was mostly just embarrassing stuff more so than just the weird stuff like he's doing now. But yeah. But anyway, ActionCom. Paulie wants to ask you, Paulie, have you seen HBO's second Civil War movie? It was a movie from a few years back. It was a comedy. I think Dennis Leary. I'm trying to remember who else was in it.
No, I haven't.
I think it's on YouTube. I don't know if it's on HBO Max or not, but yeah.
No. I mean, no ActionCom. You recommend it? I'll look it up. I'm so backlogged, but there's a scary movie I need to see on Netflix. Of course, I say that, but I've been binging the last few days Entourage just because I'm home alone.
Oh no.
I love Entourage.
It's a good show though, yeah.
Yeah, so good, man.
But all right, let's finish this up here. We got Jesus Davila sending in a thumbs up. Thank you for the $1.99. Jesus, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. So Chris, I want to thank you again for being here. Anything people should check out besides Bleeding Fool?
BleedingFool.com. I'm at Chris Brawley on Twitter. If you care, I mean, I get a little political on mine, but no, had a good time. As always, hope to come back again very soon. I'll be subscribing and watching all shows in the chat.
Yeah, we hope to have you back soon. And of course, Paulie's got a show coming up here. You wanted to plug one more time real quick?
Chris, please send me your email. I requested in the private chat. It was a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Absolutely.
Very really great stuff with that trailer. I mean, guys,
thank you.
To do independent creations, I mean, it's a lot of work, guys. It's a lot of work. So I applaud you. Okay, coming up in minutes, we're gonna go Midnight Ched's Espagnoli style, and then also too, I just put up a video where I have proof that Sydney Sweeney's mariachis are saving the world. So go to the slant and you can check out Sydney Sweeney's mariachis.
Mariachis. And we have a video that's supposed to be dropping here soon. Andre's in transit, but he's going to be getting it up here eventually. I'm assuming it'll probably be sometime after Espanol is done, but probably this afternoon. Jason Webster sends us in last minute Australian $10 super chat. Says, I love the 2024 adaptation of Shogun. I see a lot of love for it out there. I got to check it out. The acting of Hirooka Sanada as Lord Toranaga, if I'm not butchering that.
Yeah.
Anna Kawai as Mariko. And Nakiado Fumi as Lady Ochiba is brilliant, and they fully deserve Emmy awards. Well, I have a feeling this show, Jason, is going to get a lot of Emmy notice, especially between the costumes, all that kind of stuff. It's definitely going to probably be one of those that'll sweep a lot of the Emmys this next year. It's getting a lot of buzz. I want to check it out. I wanted to check out the original first, but a lot of people are just telling me to jump right into this one. So.
The original's great. Shark of Paper, one of our reviewers, says this new series is also great. He loves both the original classic and this one. So it's worth your time. Yeah.
Shogun?
Yes.
Absolutely. Television history with the filmmaking, the actors, the cinematography, and I like the old school when I was.
That's the kind of miniseries television used to make all the time, man.
Oh man!
Do they have any fat black lesbian samurai? Because if not, I'm not tuning in.
There's not enough representation.
Only when the Portuguese went back home that they settled into Port in Lisbon, and there was a lesbian in Lisbon.
Oh, great! Perfect. I'm in.
No.
Check box check.
None of that.
Oh well.
And then Pilgrim Media firing in another $2 super chat says, Paulie, I make my own ancho chili mole for con carne.
Ancho chili mole. That sounds great, man. I don't know how sweet you like it or how hot you like it, but everyone's got their own sauce preferences. But ancho chili, right on, dude. Getting older now, I have gotten more in love with roasting big jalapeno peppers and eating them with my meal. I never used to eat jalapenos when I was growing up Mexican.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of jalapenos.
Oh, now it's like
I like the tinge of the taste, but I don't like them themselves.
Because you eat too much Taco Bell, dog. You need to
shut your mouth.
Oh.
Actually, I haven't had Taco Bell in a long time. Actually,
no. You actually, you hit a. Do you still hit that joint you sent me photos to?
Hit that. I
hit that joint every day. No, actually, what's funny about that little that place that I sent you photos of?
Yeah,
they moved to a bigger place, so I got to send you some new photos. They actually opened up a full-fledged restaurant now.
Well, what we
actually went there like a week ago.
We need to go visit you, me and Mike, and we need to go eat and hang out, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, there's plenty of cool places up here for that kind of stuff, but it's quiet otherwise. So yeah, but we definitely need to plan something soon. And I want to thank everybody once again. So stay tuned for Midnight's Edge Espanol, or head over there, and then stay tuned here for more videos. Check out Culture's channel, check out Chris's channel, check out Paul's channels, and thank you once again to Chris and Bleeding Fool for being here today.
And cancel Disney Plus.
And do that. And with that, as Andre says, it is time for Koalas in the Rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala